A full moon hung high above the curved tiled roof of an ancient building. Two figures walked silently across the courtyard, illuminated by the flickering light of lanterns. The time had come. Though their clan was destroyed by the demonic cult, their reason for survival was revenge. In the dark night of the forest, a figure hid himself in a tightly wrapped cloak, his sharp eyes filled with determination. He was an avenger, waiting for his moment. A cold gust of wind swept past, and the mysterious figure darted away like a whirlwind, leaving only faint traces in the air. The flickering flame in the bronze censer illuminated a corner of the old brick wall, signaling the presence of a guard. A guard stood watch by the censer, his vigilant gaze sweeping through the night. Suddenly, an invisible hand grabbed his head, terrifying him. The guard's face changed color, his eyes wide with horror. He had no time to react to the sudden attack. A painful groan escaped, fresh blood splattering. The guard collapsed, his breath ragged. Kang Woon-chan, the man in the black cloak, stood tall beside the censer. He knew that the guard's disappearance would soon be discovered. The guard's body lay motionless on the cold ground. Kang Woon-chan was determined to finish everything before being exposed. Streaks of red energy swirled in the air, signaling an impending event, a looming threat. In the dark room, an old man with silver hair sat on a chair, his crimson eyes gleaming with coldness. He subtly furrowed his brow, sensing the commotion from outside. The old man's crimson gaze suddenly turned sharp and cold, harboring a terrifying power, as if he had seen through everything. Kang Woon-chan stood opposite the silver-haired old man, a wounded guard kneeling at his feet. Kang Woon-chan questioned, "Do you think you can just sit here while your subordinates are dying?" "You're as heartless as ever." The silver-haired old man sneered contemptuously. He asked, "How heartless? Do you think a man would care about the insects under his feet when climbing a mountain?" Crimson energy erupted from the old man's hand. He growled, "No, he only stares at the peak. That is the way to reach the pinnacle of martial arts." Kang Woon-chan, the heavenly demon, replied with fiery eyes, "Nonsense! I, Kang Woon-chan, will personally kill you today." He was ready for battle. Kang Woon-chan unleashed his power, his entire body enveloped in azure lightning. He provoked, "Is that all you've got?" The silver-haired old man retaliated, unleashing the heavenly blood tide, crimson energy surging forth. "Watch and learn," he growled. The crimson energy from the silver-haired old man's hand transformed into a colossal pillar of light, hurtling straight towards Kang Woon-chan. The powers of the two clashed violently, azure lightning and crimson blood energy tearing through space, making the ground tremble. Kang Woon-chan was struck, blood splattering. He gritted his teeth, enduring the pain that tore through his body. Kang Woon-chan's face changed color in astonishment. He exclaimed, "Sword chi with bare hands?" The silver-haired old man sneered, his eyes malicious. "Today, I will send you to reunite with your father. You're finished." The silver-haired old man was stunned, recognizing the technique. "Cloud Dragon Divine Fist?" he exclaimed in shock. Kang Woon-chan unleashed the heavenly god palm, azure lightning erupting, piercing through all defenses. The silver-haired old man roared in anger, disbelieving his eyes. "My body, forged like steel, lost to your ridiculous move?" The silver-haired old man took a fatal blow, azure lightning piercing through his body, fresh blood gushing from his mouth. The terrifying power set the silver-haired old man flying. He crashed hard into the ground, creating a deep crater. Kang Woon-chan panted, lightning still surrounding him. He growled, "Don't you dare speak of my father with your filthy mouth!" Kang Woon-chan's eyes blazed with hatred. "You haven't forgotten the crimes you committed, have you? This is the wrath of all those people." The silver-haired old man knelt, blood still oozing. He muttered, bitterly, "I should have eradicated the Cloud Dragon Gate back then." The silver-haired old man looked up, his eyes full of astonishment. "I don't know what you've comprehended, but I'm truly surprised that you managed to break my heavenly blood tide." The silver-haired old man, his body bleeding, gnashed his teeth. "You've left me no other choice." He pulled out a vial of medicine, a mesmerizing purple light enveloping it. Kang Woon-chan flinched as he recognized the object in the old man's hand. "Is that a spirit elixir?" Dark power erupted fiercely from the vial. Kang Woon-chan gasped. That spirit elixir was too potent. If he drinks such a large amount, he'll go berserk. Worry was evident on his face. The vial shattered, releasing a brilliant purple energy surge. Terrifying power spread, signaling an impending catastrophe. The silver-haired old man was engulfed in the purple aura. His white hair fluttered, his eyes glowing with an eerie light. The old man roared in agony, his entire body trembling. The berserk energy tore through his body, his purple eyes filled with torment. The old man's screams echoed, his body deforming in the purple light. He was struggling with extreme pain, his power erupting. After the pain, the silver-haired old man transformed into a fiend. He swung his arm, and a berserk surge of purple energy shot straight towards Kang Woon-chan. Kang Woon-chan was sent flying, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. Cough. He gritted his teeth, enduring as purple energy enveloped his body. Kang Wunshan looked up at the white-haired old man, his eyes filled with hatred. The old man spoke, his tone full of contempt. Kid. The white-haired old man unleashed a fatal blow. It's time for you to disappear. A massive surge of purple energy swallowed Kang Wunshan. Kang Wunshan despaired, his eyes filled with regret. I came too late. He felt death approaching. In that life-or-death moment, Kang Wunshan mustered all his strength. Barrier. A shield of green light flared up, blocking the attack. The old man's purple energy collided with the green barrier. The two streams of power clashed, creating a blinding explosion of light. Kang Wunshan stared at the barrier in astonishment. He hadn't expected to be able to create such a powerful shield. A mysterious figure appeared, staff in hand. Sorry, am I a bit late? I was indulging in a little laziness. Kang Wunshan was stunned. Archmage. The man in white robe smiled brightly, holding a glowing orb, and said to the Archmage, I told you not to call me by that stiff nickname. He continued to ask, Anyway, is this the enemy you mentioned? The Archmage replied, revealing Kang Wunshan's identity. He is one who claims to be from another world. After a moment of contemplation, if not for him, I would have died helplessly. Suddenly, everything blurred, and a loud shout rang out, Wait a minute! Jin Soo-woon, who was reading the story, wondered, Isn't this supposed to be a normal wuxia story? Why is there a high-level mage from another world appearing? Jin Soo-woon sighed, his face annoyed. I was just getting into it. He grumbled, This is such a mood killer. Is the author crazy? Jin Soo-woon muttered, unable to believe the plot twist. Where did another world come from? That's ridiculous. He introduced himself. I am Jin Soo-woon, 23 years old. A soft vibration. Jin Soo-woon's phone signaled a new message. He spoke about his life. I was discharged from the military 6 months ago, and am preparing to return to university. A message from a friend popped up. Dude, you up yet? Let's play some games. Jin Soo-woon frowned, thinking to himself, Does this bastard have no one else to play with? Like many other discharged soldiers, Jin Soo-woon once had a clear life plan. Before my discharge, I had a good plan for my life. He wanted to make the most of his time. I wanted to get certifications while preparing to return to university and learn all the things I couldn't learn while in the military. But life wasn't a dream. Jin Soo-woon realized. I missed out on too many interesting things in society. He wondered, I still have some money, but should I look for a part-time job? As a huge fan of wuxia novels, Jin Soo-woon often indulged in fantasies of being the main character. The internet cafe owner greeted him. Oh, Soo-woon, is that you? The internet cafe owner asked, Are you playing Loyal Ground again today? Jin Soo-woon replied, Yes, give me 10 hours for now. Jin Soo-woon recounted, I've also spent countless hours on Loyal Ground, although it was just a game he played for entertainment during his leave, after his discharge. Jin Soo-woon seriously grinded and made it into the top 10 rankings in just 3 months. Jin Soo-woon put on his headphones and spoke into the mic. I'm logging in now. Wait for me in the lobby. He also earned extra money from tournaments organized by the internet cafe. He explained the game rules. The game goes like this. 100 players parachute from a plane, collect weapons scattered across the map, and eliminate each other until only one person remains. Jin Soo-woon focused intently, his fingers deftly moving the mouse. His teammate's voice rang out. 120. I see 2 people 250 meters away. The enemy wearing a skull mask fired fiercely. Gunfire erupted, signaling a fierce engagement. Bullets tore through the air, hitting 2 players directly. A dazzling grenade soared, deciding the fate of the battle. From the gun's perspective, only 2 figures remained on the battlefield. His teammate's voice exclaimed in surprise. Whoa, only 2 people left. Jin Soo-woon frowned, yelling into the mic. Damn it, you're too loud. You died once already. Why are you still blabbering? Just farm. Survive first. Find a safe zone before moving. Amidst the clear blue sky, his teammate's voice rang out with full trust. I only trust you, bro. Followed by a whisper. I'll shut up now. Jin Soo-woon's avatar ran through the crumbling ruins, cautiously scouting. He wondered, where did that skull-masked guy go? Jin Soo-woon's avatar cautiously stepped into a dark room, searching for cover or items. Jin Soo-woon's avatar saw the loot still intact and breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing the loot still here, it seems he didn't come in. Jin Soo-woon's avatar secretly rejoiced. But unbeknownst to him, the skull-masked enemy had silently appeared behind him, like a ghost. The enemy with the skull mask emitted an eerie blue light, a chilling aura enveloping the space, ready for the finishing blow. A sense of unease washed over him, and Jin Soo-woon's avatar looked up. His eyes widened, realizing the imminent danger. A notification of his teammate's death appeared, and Jin Si-woon panicked. Damn it! Was he hiding inside? I need to get out of here. Without hesitation, Jin Si-woon's avatar turned and fled desperately, trying to escape the clutches of death. But all efforts were in vain. A bullet pierced the air, hitting his avatar directly in the back, ending the chase. The enemy stood triumphantly over Jin Si-woon's avatar's corpse, the screen displaying the victory message, "Congratulations! You are the last one remaining! 1/100. It's late. The computer screen still on. Jin Se-woon told himself, I should focus and start studying tomorrow. His phone vibrated. Jin Se-woon, sitting in front of the game screen with an annoyed expression, was surprised. Huh? His mother texted to check in, sent tuition money, and reminded him to eat. Jin Se-woon replied casually, Thanks, Mom. I'm about to go to bed. Jin Se-woon's friend invited him to play a game, but he refused, citing studying as an excuse. A wave of guilt washed over him as he read his mother's message. He'd been living like this for months. Night fell. The sky through the window was silent, as if reflecting his heavy mood. Jin Se-woon lay stretched out on the bed, the light from his phone screen illuminating his tired face. On his phone, news about people with mysterious powers calling themselves players abroad caught Jin Se-woon's attention. Mid-read, Jin Se-woon was surprised when the video disappeared, and the screen displayed, This page does not exist. He wondered if the video had been deleted. He sighed, looked out at the dark night sky through the window, and decided to ignore everything and go to sleep. Morning sunlight streamed into the room, signaling the start of a new day. On his way to school, Jin Se-woon received a message from a friend, inviting him to help prepare for a guild war. Jin Se-woon hesitated, a faint purple light beginning to surround him, wondering if he should play one last match. The purple light suddenly flared up more intensely, making Jin Se-woon jump and turn his head, exclaiming, Huh? His face clearly showed extreme astonishment as the purple light enveloped him, and he stammered, What is this? The purple light exploded powerfully, covering Jin Se-woon's entire body. He panicked, exclaiming, What is this light? Jin Se-woon's entire body was engulfed in brilliant purple light, his body seemingly pulled and twisted into another space, filled with horror. Jin Se-woon's backpack suddenly glowed purple, as if pulled and twisted into the void by an invisible force, disappearing without a trace. After the terrifying moment, the backpack fell onto the damp concrete floor, lying isolated in an old warehouse, with no trace of the strange light left. Mysterious words echoed through the space, like an urgent summons in an unfamiliar place. Jin Se-woon woke up in the middle of a lush green meadow, his head spinning. He looked around in confusion, wondering, Damn it, where am I? Before Jin Se-woon was a giant stone statue and a crowd of strangely dressed people. He mumbled, unable to believe his eyes. Where am I? In Jin Se-woon's mind, questions swirled. What was that light? Am I being punished like this just for being lazy and skipping a day of studying? Jin Se-woon was annoyed by the noise, and a hand touched his head. He mumbled, What the hell is this? Why is it so noisy? Amidst the chaotic battle, shouts echoed. Fight! Decide! Magic erupted, and Jin Se-woon was swept into the vortex of a fierce confrontation. Two warriors clashed, sword energy and magic intertwining. Jin Se-woon watched in shock, exclaiming inwardly, What the hell is this? Jin Se-woon still couldn't believe his eyes. He thought, Why are there so many people in costumes like this? As a mage chanted brilliant light, Jin Se-woon was pulled away. He wondered, Is this a dream? The truth was too much to bear. Jin Se-woon could only utter one word, It's just. Standing amidst the crowd and the majestic stone statue, Jin Se-woon still couldn't stop wondering, Where am I? A voice echoed in Jin Se-woon's head. 100 players detected. He was astonished. Huh? Am I hearing voices in my head? The eyes of the giant stone statue suddenly emitted a brilliant blue light, and a mysterious energy spread throughout the space. Jin Se-woon's eyes also lit up blue, and a notification appeared. System initializing! He exclaimed in horror. System! The system announced language synchronization complete. Jin Se-woon was bewildered, realizing everyone around him was suddenly speaking Korean. Where is this voice coming from? A man with curly brown hair cheered excitedly, confirming that everyone was speaking the same language as Jin Se-woon. Hey, now everyone is speaking my language. Before Jin Se-woon, two warriors clashed, one roaring, I have waited for this day, enemy of the sect. Chiron questioned the hooded man, Escrow, about the current situation. Escrow sneered, asking back, Didn't you drag me here? Chiron looked at Escrow with contempt, declaring he would no longer be deceived by his words. You are truly shameless. I will not be fooled by your words again. Escrow smirked. He didn't care if Chiron believed him or not. It doesn't matter whether you believe me or not, for all are destined to kneel before the Demon King's power. Chiron, as a great mage, swore to end everything. Blue magical energy erupted around him. I promise you this, as a great mage. Chiron's eyes blazed with determination. I will kill you right here and then finish off the Demon King. Chiron unleashed a powerful lightning strike, aimed directly at Escrow, creating a dazzling explosion of light. Chiron was astonished, his eyes revealing clear shock. Escrow stood firm, completely unharmed after the attack. He wondered, I took the full force of the spell, but why do I feel nothing? Chiron continued to press Escrow, demanding the truth. Escrow sneered, refusing to answer. Jin Se-woon stood there, thinking to himself, this is too real to be a dream. A game start notification appeared before Jin Se-woon's eyes, and his eyes lit up again. The system interface appeared, displaying the difficulty, objective, map, and rewards. Simultaneously, the tutorial had been skipped. The system explained that attacks were disabled in the waiting room. Jin Se-woon stared in astonishment at the game map that had just appeared. Is this the game map? The giant stone statue reappeared, and the system began to briefly explain the game Cloyd Survival to new players. The system continued to announce that the game would last a century, and the map would gradually shrink. Stepping outside the boundaries meant certain death. The survival battle would only end when a single person remained standing. Win or lose, death in the game would return them to their old world. Only those who made it into the top 90 would have a chance to rematch. The losers would be permanently eliminated from Cloyd Survival. The system announced that they would be teleported to their desired location thanks to is less than Argos's gaze is greater than, where they could acquire items to make it into the top 90. A wish of good luck echoed. Jin Se-woon was still bewildered, wondering if this was just a dream about loyal ground or a cruel reality. Amidst the crowd of players, Jin Se-woon heard the announcement about the rewards for the top 10. He remained silent, deep in thought. Worry was evident on Jin Se-woon's face. He still couldn't believe what was happening. Even if this is a dream, Jin Se-woon thought, seeing the fierce warriors. Among these ridiculous people, another individual, with silver hair, holding a knife, flashed a sinister smile, as if waiting for prey. Jin Se-woon felt surrounded, a surge of fear rising within him. I'm going to die, aren't I? Even if it was a dream, Jin Se-woon didn't want to die. If this was a log, he would have to fight to the end. His eyes gleamed with determination. A rude voice rang out, calling Jin Se-woon messy hair. He turned back in surprise. Me? An aggressive warrior approached, questioning Jin Se-woon. Why do you keep looking around like that? Where are you from? The warrior grew angrier, raising his voice. Are you ignoring me? I asked where you're from. Just then, the system chimed, Ding, game starts in 3. Jin Se-woon still faced the warrior. Ding, 2. The warrior became even more enraged, roaring. Why are you laughing? Are you crazy? The system counted down to the last second. Jin Se-woon burst into a crazy laugh, wondering, why am I laughing? Jin Se-woon retorted, his smile growing more arrogant. I'm having such a fun dream. Why shouldn't I laugh? He declared he would survive thanks to his knowledge, making the warrior roar in furious indignation. You bastard! How dare you? The system announced, Cloyd Survival, Day 1. Start. A blue light enveloped everything, opening up a new world. Countless players, transformed into blue silhouettes, were sucked into the void, plummeting from the sky. Jin Se-woon was also plummeting. He realized they're landing in crowded areas where there are many items. Even knowing that crowded areas had many items, Jin Se-woon decided, I think it's better to start on the outskirts for safety. He directed his gaze towards a small house in the distance, telling himself, around there should be fine. With a determined gaze, Jin Se-woon roared, commanding his body. Land! A fierce blue light swirled intensely, and Jin Se-woon plunged straight to the ground, creating a powerful impact. He landed in a half-kneeling position, his entire body enveloped in green energy, ready to face any danger. Amidst the lush green fields, surrounded by majestic mountains, Jin Se-woon stood firm, breathing in the new air. A wave of nausea hit him, and Jin Se-woon covered his mouth, groaning, This motion sickness! He looked towards the nearby wooden house, deciding, for now, let's go into that house. A strange sound shattered the silence, startling Jin Se-woon, his eyes wary. He cursed, realizing a fatal mistake. Damn it. Because of motion sickness, I couldn't see anyone else who landed with me. Without hesitation, Jin Se-woon started running, rushing towards the house. Jin Se-woon ran frantically through the house, enveloped by fear. He told himself, if I encounter an enemy without a weapon, I'm dead. Jin Se-woon's hands flailed in panic. Each step he took seemed to tear through space. Gasping for breath, Jin Se-woon collapsed to the floor, drenched in sweat. The anxiety about the enemy still haunted his mind. Jin Se-woon's face contorted with fear. He blamed himself. Is that sword-wielding bastard following me? Damn it, I shouldn't have provoked him. Cautiously, Jin Se-woon peeked through the old window frame. surveying the outside. Outside, the scene was strangely peaceful, with only leaves gently falling. Jin Siwoon wondered, was that just the wind? Fortunately, there were no more alarming sounds. Jin Siwoon decided, in that case, I'll have to search this house. He stood in the middle of the room, recalling the instructions. They said to find items where I landed, so I need to find them here. Jin Siwoon's steps halted. On the floor, a dark object appeared, seemingly a weapon. Jin Siwoon bent down, his eyes wide with surprise. Huh? He exclaimed, recognizing what he had just found. He picked up a heavy crossbow. The system announced, "You have received is less than heavy crossbow is greater than." Jin Siwoon frowned. This is too heavy. Despite its weight, he thought. But it's better than nothing. As soon as he equipped it, the method of using the crossbow became clear in Jin Siwoon's mind. Jin Siwoon held the crossbow with his foot, pulling the string taut with both hands. His eyes were highly focused, preparing for the first shot. He aimed the crossbow, his gaze sharp. For a South Korean army sergeant, this is nothing, Jin Siwoon said confidently. Jin Siwoon's finger rested on the trigger. Ready. He muttered, if I do this, it will shoot. A dazzling flash of light tore through the air. The arrow shot out swiftly, carrying explosive power. Jin Siwoon was stunned, his eyes wide as he watched the trajectory of the arrow he had just fired. The arrow struck the target directly, shattering it completely, creating a dazzling streak of light. Jin Siwoon smiled contentedly. This thing will be extremely useful if I learn to master it. He continued searching around the wooden house, but nothing valuable caught his eye. With a vast map, Jin Siwoon told himself this was an advantage. He slung the crossbow onto his back and continued his journey. Jin Siwoon ran through the grassland. If I don't encounter enemies right from the start, I can safely level up everywhere. He stopped, aiming his crossbow at a small glowing object inside the window frame. A blue glowing scroll lay on the table, attracting his attention. Jin Siwoon reached out and touched the scroll, wondering, what is this? A notification appeared. You have received is less than healing scroll. Small is greater than. If you tear the scroll, your wounds will be healed. Jin Siwoon looked at the scroll in his hand, his face surprised. An item that can heal wounds when torn. He thought he needed more healing items. I wish I could find an inventory bag. A faint purple light from the bookshelf caught Jin Siwoon's attention. He slightly furrowed his brow. Another notification appeared. You have received is less than Heixing Qi Zhang martial arts manual is greater than. This martial art allows you to project hidden weapons through your finger. Jin Siwoon held the book, pondering. Can I learn this? Will it start a tutorial? A burst of purple energy erupted, engulfing Jin Siwoon and making him dizzy. The purple energy exploded, enveloping Jin Siwoon. The martial arts manual shone brightly, drawing him into a sea of light. The Heixing Qi Zhang manual dissolved into countless energy particles, merging into his body. Jin Siwoon was astonished as the purple energy gradually subsided. Huh? Is that all? He stared at his hand, where the purple energy still lingered. A surge of astonishment welled up. His hand opened, tiny purple specks of light still shimmering. Like a new mark, he gently clenched, and then opened his hand, feeling the strange energy flowing through his veins. Jin Siwoon held the fork, purple energy surrounding it, preparing an attack. With a powerful swing of his hand, the fork shot out, creating a destructive stream of purple energy. The fork collided, shattering the wooden board into countless splinters, leaving a deep crack. Jin Siwoon smiled triumphantly. I've learned a martial art. The fork was deeply embedded in the shattered wooden board, a testament to his new strength. He looked at the result with satisfaction, still holding the fork. Amazing, Jin Siwoon pondered, realizing that the existence of martial arts books could lead to magic books. Anyway, I'm sure Cloyd's survival and loyal ground are the same game. He looked around, deciding to leave. I've searched everywhere here, so I'll move somewhere else. Night had fallen while he was grinding. I need to quickly find a place to hide. Jin Siwoon's blue eyes gleamed with determination, ready for a new journey. Jin Siwoon hid in the night, his eyes fixed on the only house still lit.
Only this house still has lights on.
He looked up at the night sky, calculations beginning to swirl in his mind. The fact that there are lights on can only mean one of two things. His gaze was sharp, sweat beading on his forehead. Either there's a rare item hidden inside, or someone is there. He pushed the door open slightly, ready to face whatever awaited him. His footsteps were light as wind, gliding inside. I don't know how many people have appeared recently, but what if someone is here? He stood at the foot of the stairs, ears perked, investigating. They could be experts or noobs. I don't hear anything on the first floor. His gaze moved upstairs, suspicion rising. Are they hiding on the second floor? His expression was firm, gripping his weapon tightly. I have a weapon, and if I ambush with Dark Star Chi Palm, even an expert would have a chance. His footsteps were feather light, stealthily ascending the old wooden stairs. He cautiously peeked his head over the railing, his scrutinizing gaze sweeping across the dark room. Jin Seowon raised his crossbow, an arrow already nocked, pointing straight into the darkness ahead. A flash of light appeared in his eyes, surprise evident. What awaited him was not an enemy, but an antique lantern, emitting a warm light. Jin Seowon stared at the lantern, his heart full of doubt. Just a lantern? Is this a trap? Beside the lantern, a closed wooden door appeared, concealing a secret. A room! His gaze was thoughtful, calculations beginning again. Jin Seowon delivered a powerful kick, breaking through the wooden door. He held his crossbow tightly, his sharp gaze piercing the darkness. Jin Seowon's feet landed softly, dust rising faintly. The mysterious room had opened before his eyes. Jin Seowon cautiously scanned the room, his eyebrows furrowed with doubt. An empty space, with no trace of life. He stood silently, looking deep into the darkness, complex thoughts swirling in his mind. What did this room hide? Jin Seowon knelt, placing his crossbow on the floor. He sighed, scoffing at himself. Damn it. I put on a whole act for nothing. He turned his back, light streaming in from the window. Thank goodness, no one's here. He breathed a sigh of relief. Jin Seowon's gaze landed on a sparkling ring on the table. He slowly reached out, touching the mysterious item. Picking up the ring, Jin Seowon was surprised. A ring? Is this an item too? A notification appeared. Ring of Strength, plus 20 strength when equipped. Jin Seowon looked at the ring, then pondered. I'll get stronger just by wearing this ring? He didn't hesitate, putting the ring on his finger. A mysterious surge of energy spread. An explosive power enveloped Jin Seowon. He was astonished, feeling a clear change in his body. He held out his hand, feeling his body. What the hell? My body feels light. I barely feel the weight of the crossbow anymore. Jin Seowon mused, his eyes wide. 20 strength increase means. He began to deduce his new capability. He looked into the air, and a status window unexpectedly appeared. Stats? Character? No? My information. It's showing up. Jin Seowon's status window was clearly displayed. Name: Jin Seowon. Race: human. Class: martial artist. Strength: 30. I'm pretty pathetic. Am I classified as a martial artist because I learned martial arts? Jin Seowon smirked, crossbow in hand. This is pretty great. Compared to when I started from zero, this is. Jin Seowon continued exploring the first floor. A spatial ring appeared, allowing the user to store items in a subspace. Jin Seowon put the ring on his hand, wondering why he kept receiving rings. The system interface instructed Jin Seowon on how to store items in the subspace by touching and chanting a keyword. Jin Seowon understood the mechanism of the spatial ring. It was like an inventory replacing a bag. Jin Seowon tested the spatial ring, and a surge of purple energy erupted, surprising him. A strange sensation enveloped him, but Jin Seowon realized the ring's convenience. He no longer had to carry bulky items. Jin Seowon wished he had this spatial ring in the real world. It would be incredibly convenient. He gazed out thoughtfully, longing to bring these items and martial arts back to the real world. Jin Seowon checked the interface, wondering if there was a kill log, as the number of eliminations was still 0. Jin Seowon's eyes widened. He discovered the kill log. Only one person had been eliminated, and Jin Seowon was disappointed that his farming plan was ruined. He had searched the houses, collecting many consumable items and hidden weapons, combined with the Dark Star Palm. After exploring every nook and cranny, Jin Seowon hesitated between continuing or hiding until dawn. Powerful foes lurked in the darkness. At his current level, Jin Seowon couldn't confront them, so he decided to hide to make it into the top 10. The decision was clear. Jin Seowon would use the cover of night to find another shelter before dawn broke. Jin Seowon continued through the deep forest, feeling no fatigue. He secretly praised the power ring that helped him maintain his stamina. Despite his surging strength, hunger and thirst still gnawed at him. Jin Seowon realized this survival game was terrifyingly realistic. The gnawing hunger made Jin Seowon uncomfortable. He searched for food in vain, hoping the city would have something. According to the map, the city was nearby, but no houses were in sight. A terrifying growl echoed, interrupting his thoughts. Jin Seowon's eyes widened in horror. The predator was very close, its growl sending chills down his spine. He quickly spun around, highly vigilant, ready to face the threat lurking in the shadows. A horrifying truth dawned on him. Jin Seowon was stunned. Damn it! I didn't hear anything. The ferocious growl echoed, like a deadly warning from the hidden monster. Cold sweat streamed down Jin Seowon's face. He stammered, realizing the horrifying truth. A giant werewolf appeared, its eyes glowing red. Jin Seowon exclaimed in horror, "A werewolf!" The werewolf lunged, its sharp claws tearing through the air. Jin Seowon narrowly dodged, muttering, "What the hell is this?" The monster's claws left deep gashes on the ancient tree trunk, proof of its terrifying power. Another growl echoed, and another werewolf appeared, turning Jin Se-woon's situation into extreme peril. Jin Se-woon ran for his life, screaming in his head, "I thought this was a PvP game. I never expected there to be monsters here." He regretted it immensely, wishing he hadn't moved. If I had known about this, I would have stayed put. As a renowned player, Jin Se-woon couldn't accept a humiliating death at the hands of common monsters. He had to survive. In the gloomy night, a small house appeared like a ray of hope. Jin Se-woon exclaimed, "A house!" Jin Se-woon didn't hesitate, rushing like a bullet towards the faint light of the house. As soon as he stepped inside, Jin Se-woon collapsed, gasping for breath. The terrifying growl echoed again, and Jin Se-woon panicked. "Damn it! Is it coming here?" The growl grew closer, and Jin Se-woon sprang to his feet, his eyes frantic. "What should I do?" Jin Se-woon cautiously peeked through the crack in the door, his heart pounding as the growl echoed. A giant monster was sniffing around. Jin Se-woon deduced, "The way it keeps sniffing, it's definitely looking for my scent." Tears streamed down his face, but Jin Se-woon's eyes suddenly flashed with determination, resolved not to surrender to fate. Jin Se-woon tightened his crossbow, declaring resolutely, "If that's the case, I'll attack first. Charge!" With a sharp gaze, Jin Se-woon aimed directly at the target through the narrow gap in the door. All of Jin Se-woon's senses focused on the glowing arrow, preparing for the decisive strike. The arrow tore through the wind, soaring with a brilliant blue light piercing the night. The giant monster was hit, letting out a terrifying roar, its body enveloped by a surge of red energy. The monster vanished into shimmering blue fragments of light. Jin Se-woon was satisfied. Excellent. Thanks to the Ring of Power, Jin Se-woon could fire the crossbow with one hand. He said confidently, "Now I just need to deal with the last one." But a sudden surprise struck, making Jin Se-woon's eyes widen, cold sweat breaking out. The monster roared, charging like a nightmare. Jin Se-woon's eyes widened, facing imminent death. Darkness enveloped them, and the giant monster became clear. Jin Se-woon stood there, his eyes burning with resilience. With a bleeding wound on his face, Jin Se-woon gritted his teeth. The pain could not extinguish his will to fight. The monster attacked fiercely, pushing Jin Se-woon back. He exclaimed, "Damn it!" Despite being surrounded by danger, Jin Se-woon held his crossbow steady, continuously firing back, resisting without cease. The monster roared, unleashing its final blow. Jin Se-woon fell, as if everything had ended. A thought flashed through his mind. Will I be eliminated? Not yet. His determination blazed. Jin Se-woon gathered his strength, activating a new ability. Subspace. Purple energy swirled in his hand. His hand gathered power, forming a powerful technique. Dark Star Chi Palm. He unleashed a fatal blow. The purple energy collided, piercing through the monster's body. A dagger was deeply embedded in the wall, cracks spreading, evidence of the surprise attack. Jin Se-woon stood up, his eyes blazing. "I can't lose to a mere grunt." The monster vanished into blue fragments of light. Jin Se-woon gasped, the battle over. He sighed in relief.
Phew. I thought I was done for.
Though exhausted, he stood firm, his legs trembling but not giving way. Jin Se-woon picked up the loot bag, smiling. "Thank goodness I hid the dagger beforehand. I thought I'd lose to these monsters and fail. How embarrassing." Jin Se-woon stared at the glowing bag, his eyes curious. What's this?" He bent down, touching an item dropped by the monster. An item dropped by the monster? Jin Se-woon was disappointed to find only water and dried meat inside. Damn it! Only water and dried meat? I could hunt for that myself. He munched on the dried meat, thinking about exploring the surroundings. Should I check around? A piece of armor floating in the air caught his attention. A piece of armor? Is it like the bulletproof vests in the Loyal Ground? He tried on the armor, but it seemed too big. It's a bit large for me. Surprisingly, the armor automatically adjusted to fit. Oh, it adjusts itself to the user's size? The system confirmed that high-grade orichalcum armor had been equipped, significantly enhancing fire and wind magic resistance. He couldn't hide his excitement. Whoa, this is amazing! It boosts more than just 1 or 2 stats. Jin Se-woon began rummaging through the bookshelves, hoping to find more items. There must be more stuff around. He was disappointed when he found nothing. Huh? What is this? Nothing? A blue light beneath his feet. Perhaps a hidden item. Is this a hidden item? He picked up a transparent cloak. It felt like fabric. It feels like fabric. The system announced that the night cloak had been equipped, allowing him to blend into the darkness when standing still. The cloak also made him invisible to magic and nullified all sound. This is truly overpowered. He realized its value. Able to avoid all enemies at night. So I can avoid everyone I meet at night. Right? This is the best item for survival. Jin Se-woon confidently declared, With this, I can survive as long as I want. Let's do it. A house appeared in the wilderness, turning out to be a grinding spot. Jin Suwon thought to himself, I was confused why there was a house in the middle of nowhere, but it's a grinding spot. My luck is better on the second day. The full moon hung suspended, illuminating the silent night. Jin Suwon walked through the gloomy forest, wondering, I still haven't seen anyone. Is it because I landed in a random location? He gasped, then suddenly stopped. A doubtful, escaping him. A figure hastily fled, cursing in a panic. The fleeing person desperately yelled, If only I had time to use this. A damn apprentice like that is nothing. Jin Seowon hid, observing the panting person running past. That person kept running, secretly cursing. To think, I ran into a mage there. Jin Seowon hid, drew his crossbow, and assessed the target. He doesn't look very strong, if I'm not mistaken. He confidently asserted, I can handle him, then let out a sigh of relief. Jin Seowon hesitated, struggling internally. That's not a person. This is just a game. Why are you hesitating? Shoot, damn it. A blazing fire erupted. Escrow's flame clearly visible. The fierce flame surged forward, tearing through the night. The fleeing person's eyes widened in horror, facing the destructive power. A painful scream tore through the air as that person was engulfed in a sea of fire. Jin Seowon stood silently, his gaze following the devastating flame. He's dead? Jin Seowon's face clearly showed horror, cold sweat pouring out. There was no corpse, only a chest appeared. Jin Seowon realized this was a game. So these are his items? But where did that flame come from? Kang Woon-chan appeared, magical flames blazing in his hand. A magic, ignorant fool dares to steal my things? Kang Woon-chan coldly smirked, speaking of the deceased. Unlucky. If he had died by my sword, he wouldn't have suffered the pain of burning. Kang Woon-chan passed by, completely unaware of Jin Seowon's presence. He doesn't see me? This cloak is amazing. Kang Woon-chan looked at the chest and the dropped items. Be honored to have died by my hand, Chiron. He approached the chest, ready to inspect the spoils. Let's see what he dropped. Kang Woon-chan opened the chest. Jin Seowon realized the person who just died was also a player. I could be this guy's next prey. Jin Seowon was resolute, understanding that a moment of hesitation could get him killed and cost him the chance to level up. Jin Seowon's eyes flashed with coldness. If that's the case, he clenched his fist, determined to survive. If I want to survive. Kang Woon-chan happily picked up the items, his face showing clear satisfaction. Oh, he had some pretty good stuff. Jin Seowon's eyes were sharp and cold, ready to act. Jin Seowon suddenly lunged forward, a burst of blue energy exploding directly at Kang Woon-chan. Kang Woon-chan was astonished to be attacked by another player. Damn it, I made too much noise. It's all that bastard's fault. Jin Seowon struck like lightning, his weapon flashing in the night. A burst of blue energy exploded, Jin Seowon delivering a fatal blow. Kang Woon-chan gritted his teeth, his defensive barrier wavering. Damn it, at this rate, the barrier will break. In the darkness, Jin Seowon's eyes flashed with a cold, sharp glint. Kang Woon-chan gritted his teeth, scanning his surroundings. Where are you? Kang Woon-chan roared, unleashing fierce flames. Attack! Amidst the fiery forest, Kang Woon-chan angrily roared. Where are you hiding? Stop being a coward, show yourself! A dagger sliced through the wind, swift as lightning. Kang Woon-chan dodged in a flash, escaping the blade of death. He was utterly terrified, not expecting his opponent to be so fast. Jin Seowon didn't stop, continuing to unleash destructive attacks. Kang Woon-chan screamed in despair. Barrier, you bastard! Where are you hiding? Jin Seowon hid himself within the blue energy screen, preparing for the finishing blow. Flames erupted around Kang Woon-chan, and he cried out in pain. Escrows. The dagger plunged deep into his forehead, and Kang Woon-chan looked up in despair. The flame. He collapsed, his last words choked in his throat. Attack. The fierce battle ended. Jin Seowon stood tall, enveloped in blue light, amidst the dark magical remnants of his enemy. He let out a sigh of relief, the enemy's power transforming into sparkling crystals. I won. A blue light flared, and 2 treasure chests appeared, containing countless secrets. Jin Seowon hurried. If someone sees this flame and tracks it, it'll be a huge hassle. Best to loot quickly and scram. He opened the mage's chest, and gloves and a recovery scroll appeared. Let's see what's in the mage's chest. Oh, nice recovery item. You received is less than. Escrow's necklace is greater than. Even though it had no stats, he still put it away. Huh? Just a piece of trash with no stats? I'll keep it for now. A strange light flashed from the bottom of the chest. He squinted. What's that? He picked up the round patterned stone. You received is less than. Circle stone is greater than. It allows one to engrave a mana circle around the heart, using magic power. He was astonished. Once used, I can learn the magic of that circle. Can I become a mage so easily? A surge of anger flared. If only I had time to use this. An apprentice mage like Chiron is nothing. He smirked. So that's it. Sorry, but I'll be using it instead of you. He put everything into his inventory, planning to find a safer place to examine them thoroughly. Under the cover of night, he donned his cloak and slipped into the deep forest, searching for a suitable place to use the circle stone. A ruined structure appeared in his sight. That place looks good. He sat down, holding the stone. The system asked, "Do you want to use is less than? Circle stone is greater than?" Yes. The stone glowed in his hand. Upon use, you will be immobile for 3 hours, unable to act or use items. You may feel slight pain. Jin Siwoon writhed in bone-piercing pain, sweat pouring off him like a shower. Suppressing his screams, Jin Siwoon endured 3 hours of extreme agony. Immobile is warned. Jin Siwoon lay exhausted, recalling the warning about slight pain. Slight pain, you say? I thought I was going to die. Recovered, Jin Siwoon pondered the difference between martial arts and magic. He sighed, then commanded, "Status." A ding sound rang out, and the status window appeared. Jin Siwoon was surprised. "Oh, it seems I can have 2 professions at once. Now I even have a mana stat." Jin Siwoon suddenly thought of those who had fallen. Since 2 of them died, the number of survivors must have decreased. He checked. Survivors. He stared at the system panel, the displayed number surprising him. Another ding echoed. Jin Siwoon couldn't believe his eyes. He exclaimed, "How can this be?" The system panel clearly showed. Survivors 45 over 100. Jin Siwoon was shocked. It decreased that much? He looked at the list of the dead, one name standing out, making him wonder. Nam Sagwang? Hours earlier, in the gloomy forest, a predator was chasing its prey. The victim pleaded, "Halt! Stop! Please don't chase me anymore." The predator, Nam Sagwang, smirked, licking his lips with relish. He stomped hard on the victim's head, a brutal act full of contempt. The victim was thrown far away, weapons clattering. A painful groan escaped. The victim was severely injured, desperately pleading, top 90. Just let me into the top 90. Nam Sagwang stood tall, brilliant blue mana, radiating, looking down at the defeated opponent. The victim continued to beg. "I can't die like this. I beg you." The defeated begged in despair, but the scythe of death had swung down. Fresh blood splattered, ending a life. Nam Sagwang calmly looked down at the fallen, his blue mana glowing brightly. He wondered, would this death be enough to deter everyone? Under the ethereal moonlight, the name Nam Sagwang echoed like a curse throughout the dark forest. A hidden treasure chest awaited. Dawn broke, signaling the 3rd day of the Cloyd survival war. An unusually peaceful scene. The status window appeared, revealing a horrifying number. 54 people had fallen in just one night. Only 45 warriors remained. Jin Siwoon stared at the name Nam Sagwang, fear clearly visible on his face. I hope I don't run into this guy. A thought suddenly flashed through Jin Siwoon's mind. Wait, if things continue like this, I could definitely make it into the top 10. Jin Siwoon pondered the rewards for the top ranks. He wondered if it was just money and items, or the ability to bring skills and equipment back to the real world. Jin Siwoon sighed, scoffing at himself. There's a murderer rampaging outside, and here I am, daydreaming. Seriously. Jin Siwoon's hand glowed with blue mana. He needed to quickly prepare and start acting. Jin Siwoon looked at his hand in surprise. A surge of power welled up from within. Is this mana? He suddenly remembered. That's right. Yesterday I found a magic book while rummaging through things. A swirl of purple energy appeared in his hand. Jin Siwoon held the magic book, his eyes shining. He knew he could do something. An interface appeared, asking if he wanted to use the book. His hand reached out, selecting yes. Blue mana swirled around Jin Siwoon. He was bewildered, not understanding what was happening. A surge of magical knowledge flooded directly into Jin Siwoon's head, making him dizzy. It's escrow, magic. Jin Siwoon swung his hand, blue energy erupting, summoning magic. Wind orb! Small wind orbs formed, hovering around his hand. He looked at the orbs in surprise, a little disappointed. Is that all? He observed more closely. The wind orbs were still spinning, full of energy. They glided smoothly, demonstrating astonishing flexibility. Jin Siwoon's eyes sharpened, and the wind orbs shot out, tearing everything to shreds. Amidst the wreckage, he mused, it's much stronger than it looks. It will definitely be useful. He was exhausted, his mana depleted. Why am I suddenly so tired? Is it because I used magic? Time passed. and the restricted zone gradually appeared on the map and began to shrink. He decided to grind levels at the edge of the limit. He walked, contemplating. Half the players are gone, so the chance of encountering others is also reduced. I need to quickly grind levels before the restricted zone shrinks further. From above, a long, white-haired old man silently watched Jin Se-woon's retreating figure. The old man remained there, his sharp gaze following Jin Se-woon until he disappeared from view. A mysterious smile formed on the old man's lips. How interesting. The old man vanished in an instant, like a gust of wind sweeping across the blue sky. Half a day later, Jin Se-woon remembered there were houses nearby on the map. He was suddenly utterly surprised, his eyes wide. Huh? Jin Se-woon set foot in a desolate village where blood stained every stone. He was suddenly startled, a sense of unease welling up. Without hesitation, Jin Se-woon chanted, and green wind orbs appeared in his hands. Wind orb! He swung his hand, and pieces of wood shattered. Attack! Amidst the hazy smoke, Jin Se-woon cautiously looked around. Was it just the wind? He frowned and thought, his hand on his chest. I thought someone was here. A strange sensation suddenly struck him, making his eyes widen. Through the broken window frame, a pool of fresh red blood appeared. Foul blood splattered across the floor, a gruesome sight. Jin Se-woon discovered an injured person hiding in the dark room. An injured person, he pondered, assessing the situation. He must be strong to have survived until now. Should I kill him now? There's bound to be good loot. Finally, Jin Se-woon decided to leave. No, survival is still the top priority. I'll withdraw. He turned his back, his decisive footsteps blending into the forest mist. The room was empty, with only the shattered window frame remaining. The injured person cautiously poked his head out, scouting. He's gone? He let out a sigh of relief, the bloodstain still on his forehead. Good thing I hid. Quickly, or I'd be dead. The injured man stood up straight, sword in hand, a proud expression on his face. He muttered, if I weren't injured, I would have dealt with him easily. He quickly knelt beside the wooden chest, rummaging through its contents. All right, I'll just grab the loot quickly and get out of here. A sudden attack struck, blood splattered, and he collapsed in extreme pain. He stared wide-eyed, blood gushing from his nose, his breath ragged. Damn it! A magic arrow carrying a blue light tore through the air, soaring away. Jin Se-woon hid in the bushes, looking at the corpse in the chest. He thought to himself, thanks for showing yourself so quickly. He smirked, axe in hand. I'll level up quickly and then head to the edge of the forbidden zone. A sudden voice rang out. Jin Se-woon was startled as the long-bearded old man appeared behind him. You seem quite skilled. Jin Se-woon panicked and stepped back. He blamed himself. I let my guard down. The old man reassured the frightened Jin Se-woon. No need to be so scared. I just want to ask a few questions. Jin Se-woon stammered. Who are you? The old man smiled mysteriously. Even if I told you, would you know who I am? After all, we both come from different lives. Jin Se-woon was surprised, pondering. Is that so? He's different from anyone I've met before. Both stood silently, watching the sunset. The old man suddenly asked, So, have you ever participated in this kind of game before? Jin Se-woon asked in surprise. Game? What do you mean? The old man replied. I've been keeping an eye on you for a while and noticed how quickly you adapt. You surely know this isn't real. Jin Se-woon was worried, wondering why he hadn't noticed the old man.
This is my first time here, but I've played a similar game in my world.
The old man pondered. A game? Is it like this one? How interesting. From his appearance, I can tell he's definitely not from my world. The long-bearded old man gazed thoughtfully at the sky, realizing night had fallen. Jin Se-woon confirmed that this was his third day, trapped in this strange place. The old man asked if the moon in his world was as large as the one hanging above them. He was startled, having never noticed how big it was. The old man answered himself, asserting that the moon here was larger. Jin Se-woon also nodded in agreement, saying that in his world, it was much smaller. The old man suddenly asked Jin Se-woon about the game he had mentioned. Jin Se-woon became wary, thinking to himself that this place was prone to ambushes and not suitable for conversation. The old man suggested finding another place to talk, as their conversation might be lengthy. Jin Se-woon cautiously stepped back, wondering if the old man intended to harm him. The old man's hand suddenly gripped Jin Se-woon's cloak, pulling him closer. I'm sure you know, but don't make any noise. Mysterious blue energy streams enveloped them, and the old man took action. If you want to become a target, go ahead. The energy erupted, sweeping away the threat. Jin Se-woon was in extreme pain. His face contorted, his eyes wide as if they would burst. He couldn't suppress a groan. Under the full moon, the old man and Jin Se-woon soared through the treetops. At that moment, he had no idea that this encounter would bring unforeseen consequences. The tranquil night scene enveloped the forest, the azure moon shining down, creating an ethereal and mysterious landscape. The old man was surprised to hear about Jin Si-woon's virtual doll game, finding his world truly wondrous. Jin Si-woon explained that it was a place with advanced civilization. The old man nodded, understanding why Jin Se-woon adapted so quickly. He cursed inwardly, wondering how long the old man had been watching him. The old man casually revealed that he had been with Jin Se-woon since they were both thrown here. He was startled, suspecting the old man could read his thoughts. The old man calmly explained that he initially only wanted to hide in the mountains, but curiosity about Jin Se-woon's actions and why they were brought here led him to approach actively, assuring he had no intention of harm. Jin Si-woon admitted he also didn't know why they were brought here. The old man repeated his words, asking about the similar thing he had mentioned from his world. Jin Si-woon explained that his game was just entertainment, with no real death. As for the motives of the supernatural entities who kidnapped them here, he had absolutely no idea. The old man listened thoughtfully, finally uttering, "I understand." But he believed this game would be a great opportunity for someone, Jin Si-woon asked in surprise. An opportunity? The old man explained that death here wasn't a true end. Upon death, there would be corresponding ranks and rewards, perhaps the items they had acquired. Jin Si-woon asked if it was the things on their person. The old man nodded. Not just that, but also the skills and martial arts learned here. He also admitted there was no proof yet. Jin Se-woon wondered if magic was an opportunity. The old man replied that these abilities could change the lives of those struggling. He then asked, "What makes you think my life isn't difficult?" The old man assumed Jin Si-woon was a martial arts master with many disciples. Unlike me, a good-for-nothing. This will be a great opportunity for those struggling with life. The old man burst out laughing loudly. "You're quite interesting to talk to, young man." Jin Se-woon quickly reminded him. "You shouldn't speak so loudly. Keep your voice down." The old man asked about Jin Se-woon's recent action. "What was that you just did, looking and swiping your finger in the air?" Jin Se-woon realized. So you don't know how to open the map." Jin Si-woon shared useful tips for this world, listening to the old man's stories about his world. Dawn quickly arrived. Morning had come, and Jin Se-woon continued his journey. The old man said, "I feel this talkative old man has taken up too much of your time." Jin Si-woon quickly replied, "No, that's not it at all." Jin Se-woon thought that being with the old man was the safest way. He added, "I was also happy to hear stories about your world." The old man asked Jin Si-woon, "Since I've learned much from you, is there any way I can repay you?" Jin Si-woon was surprised. Jin Si-woon grabbed the old man's hand, urgently proposing, "Can I learn your martial arts? I want to survive to the end, and I need your help." The old man looked at Jin Si-woon, his gaze calm. The old man smiled. "I didn't say it was impossible." Jin Si-woon flinched, his eyes filled with anxiety. The old man instructed, "However, you must prepare for the worst." Jin Si-woon stammered. "The worst? What is it?" The old man stated firmly, "I'm talking about death," he asked directly. "So, what do you choose?" The old man's cold question was like a nail hammered into Jin Si-woon's mind. The old man explained that to succeed through unconventional means, one must pay a heavy price. The old man challenged, "Are you prepared for that?" Jin Se-woon hesitated. "But elder," Jin Se-woon suddenly remembered, "people don't die here." The old man was stunned, then burst out laughing. That's right." The old man mused, "If that's the case, using that method might work." Jin Si-woon quickly asked, "Is there a way for me to become stronger?" The old man said, "It's worth a try, at least." Jin Si-woon excitedly asked, "What do I have to do?" The old man placed his hand on Jin Si-woon's head. "First, let's see how much inner energy you have." Jin Si-woon was surprised. The old man's eyes widened, and he exclaimed in astonishment, "Good heavens, your inner energy!" The old man was astonished. "It's even less than my dog's," Jin Si-woon explained. "I already told you, my world has no martial arts or inner energy." The old man commanded, "First, sit in the lotus position." The old man placed his hand on Jin Si-woon's head, beginning the transmission. Ethereal light enveloped them. The old man warned, "You will suffer pain like dying and coming back to life, but you cannot move." Jin Se-woon asked in agony, "So, what should I do?" The old man replied simply, "Just endure it." He added, "Otherwise, you will die." All of Jin Si-woon's senses exploded, turning the breeze into blades and breath into lava. He could even clearly hear ants crawling. The whole world seemed to be tearing him apart. A terrifying surge of pressure built up, making Jin Si-woon feel as if he would burst from within. Jin Si-woon's body convulsed violently, as streams of blue energy tore through every muscle fiber. In the midst of extreme agony, A heart-wrenching question echoed. Am I going to die? Jin Siwon's eyes widened, his pupils constricted, reflecting primal fear and indescribable pain. His gaze transformed into a deep blue abyss, where pain and power merged, devouring everything. In that moment, a blurry image of the old man and himself appeared, like a reminder of the origin of this nightmare. Suddenly, a gentle hand was placed on Jin Seowon's head, ending the brutal ordeal. He slumped down, exhausted. Cold sweat poured out. Jin Siwon's eyes were tightly shut, his face clearly showing the exhaustion after a life-and-death struggle with his own body. He suddenly opened his eyes, horrified and disgusted, and a dry retch escaped him. Jin Siwon turned his back, vomiting violently, his body trying to expel something disgusting. The old man calmly observed, remarking, "You endured well. Your body isn't bad. You have innate talent." The old man explained, "I have adjusted your vital energy. Your body will be different from before." Jin Seowon weakly asked, "So, what do I have to do now?" The old man repeated Jin Seowon's past words. "You want to become stronger as quickly as possible, right?" Jin Seowon nodded in confirmation. The old man smiled mysteriously, revealing, "I pushed your soul out a little, then created an absorption gate in that void." The old man explained that those who forcibly absorb life force often pay the price with their martial power or their lives. But his special cultivation method would help Jin Siwon absorb scattered life force, strengthening his internal energy. Jin Seowon realized the danger with horror. The old man reassured him, explaining that he was different. Instead of regenerating his meridians, he had used Jin Seowon's own soul to create the absorption gate. Jang Ochun revealed that Jin Seowon had no internal energy. His meridians were empty. He had adjusted him to absorb life force harmoniously, then asked if he understood the forbidden cultivation methods of Zhongyuan. Jin Seowon replied. Because of this game's settings, Jang Ochun smiled with satisfaction, praising his quick wit. Jang Ochun continued, saying that he had sensed residual life force in places where people had died. The old man revealed the biggest problem with this cultivation method. It only achieves maximum effectiveness through killing. But here, that's not an issue. Jang Ochun continued, if Jin Siwon could eliminate others to survive, after 100 days, he would reach an impressive level. Jin Siwon listened with apprehension. Jang Ochun declared it was time to part ways, hoping to meet again. Jin Seowon hastily held him back. "Wait," Jin Seowon pleaded, hoping Jang Ochun would at least tell him his name, after all the help he had given. Jang Ochun smiled, revealing his name was Jang Ochun, and people called him the Old Man of the Deep Valley. The cultivation method he taught was called the White Martial Body Technique. Jin Siwon bowed in thanks, vowing not to forget this kindness. Jang Ochun instructed him to breathe deeply, focus on his dantian to accumulate internal energy, and he would gradually grow stronger. Jang Ochun repeated the word map, then exclaimed, "How convenient." Jang Ochun promised to meet again when the opportunity arose, then turned and left. Jin Siwon hesitated, replying, "Yes, old man." Jang Ochun shot upwards, his figure transforming into a streak of light, quickly vanishing into thin air. Jin Siwon watched in astonishment, thinking to himself that Jang Ochun disappeared as quickly as a master. Jin Siwon wished, if I could also use lightness skill, traveling would be so much more comfortable. Jin Siwon took a deep breath, deciding, let's move to the edge of the restricted area as planned. He began to walk. Being brought to the center of the restricted area by the old man happened in an instant, so fast that Jin Seowon couldn't react. Jin Seowon had spent half a day traveling under the bright moonlight. Finally, he arrived at a small village. One house still had its lights on, even though night had fallen. He squinted, speculating, either the house is empty, or a newbie forgot to turn off the lights. The decision was made. Tonight, I'm going in. Jin Seowon darted off like a ghost. He quickly broke inside, acting decisively. Holding a crossbow in his hand, Jin Seowon carefully examined every corner. Light still shone from the window, like a mysterious invitation. He smiled smugly. I was right. It's time to harvest. But then, his face contorted. Nonsense. He slumped down, utterly disappointed. Only useless junk. I came here for nothing. He received a small healing scroll and dried meat. A long yawn suddenly overcame him. Oh, right. I talked with the old man last night, so I haven't slept at all. He pulled up the blanket, sinking into a deep sleep. Time to sleep. I'm too tired. The moonlight still hung in the sky, witnessing the stillness of the night. Dawn broke, marking the 5th day of the Cloyd survival battle. Warm sunlight shone on his hand, still clutching the crossbow. His face was immersed in peaceful sleep, all fatigue vanished. Jin Seowon suddenly woke up, his bewildered gaze sweeping across the room. This doesn't look like an abandoned house. He lay on the floor, a ray of light piercing through the window, casting the shadow of a stranger standing outside. Jin Se-woon gripped his crossbow, cursing inwardly. Damn it, the sun's already high and I'm still sleeping like a log. The heavy wooden door remained silently closed, concealing all secrets within. A warrior with a high bun and thick mustache pushed the door open and sighed in relief. Ha! Finally, some rest. The warrior's eyes suddenly widened, his face hardening in surprise. Jin Se-woon was ready, his crossbow raised high, his sharp gaze locked onto the target. A volley of arrows shot out, tearing through the wind straight towards the warrior, swift as lightning. The warrior swung his sword, blocking the incoming arrows, his face filled with fury. Jin Se-woon frowned, purple energy flaring around his hand. A martial artist? What a nuisance! He unleashed a dark energy palm strike, sharp blades swirling and rushing forth like a storm. The wounded warrior, blood splattering, still roared furiously. You despicable bastard, how dare you use hidden weapons? He charged forward, his sword swinging powerfully, determined to finish off his opponent. But Jin Se-woon was faster. He stomped hard on the fallen warrior. Jin Se-woon's foot crushed the warrior's chest, making him groan in pain. Jin Se-woon held the blade to the warrior's neck, saying coldly, I was having a good dream, and you woke me up, the warrior pleaded. Spare me, I'll do anything. The warrior with the bun trembled, begging with tearful eyes. I'll give you everything I have. Please, I've tried so hard to survive. I can't die here. The warrior with the bun's desperate scream tore through the air. His body was pierced by a stream of green energy, dissolving in a blinding light. Jin Se-woon stood amidst a pool of blood, his gaze cold, a throwing dart embedded in his hand. A system notification appeared, confirming his victory. Neither can I. Jin Se-woon tilted his head, his eyes puzzled. Something had just happened that made him ponder. An ancient wooden chest suddenly appeared, emitting a mystical green light, hovering in midair. The chest remained suspended, reminding Jin Se-woon of Elder Jang Ochan's words. This is what Elder Jang Ochan mentioned. Jin Se-woon's hand reached out, touching the mystical green light enveloping the chest. Jin Se-woon looked at his hand, where green vitality was flowing in, his face astonished. Is this what they call life force? A powerful surge of energy erupted from Jin Se-woon, blurring his image in a dazzling light. Jin Se-woon looked up, green energy swirling around him. He was astonished by the surging power. His power is overflowing. Is this true internal energy? Jin Se-woon stood tall, feeling the new power. I've only absorbed one person's life force, but my body feels light, and my strength is overflowing. Jin Se-woon looked to the side, his face resolute. He wanted to check his information. My information. The information panel appeared, and Jin Se-woon was surprised to see he had internal energy. Oh, I have internal energy? That person's internal energy was 20? Jin Se-woon looked at the information panel, his face thoughtful. Elder, you've given us something far greater than I expected. Even if I can't defeat them, I still have to somehow acquire life force. Jin Se-woon turned around, his eyes searching. He wondered about the fate of the survivors. What happened to the survivors? Survivors? Jin Se-woon's eyes widened, his face filled with extreme horror. Something unexpected had appeared. What the hell is this? Jin Se-woon was horrified to realize that after only 5 days, the number of survivors had dropped to 24. He wondered, already 24 people? It's only been 5 days? A sense of unease arose, making Jin Se-woon suddenly look up. He felt something was wrong. Immediately, the screen updated again, the number of survivors decreasing by 1. Another one was eliminated from the game. This time, the name Nam Sagwang appeared, defeated by Cal Verstappen using martial arts. A swift, brutal death. Nam Sagwang fell, his eyes wide open in a pool of blood. He didn't even have time to utter his last words. Nam Sagwang's body gradually dissolved, enveloped in green light. He had truly ended his game. A mysterious wooden chest appeared right where Nam Sagwang fell, like a reward for the victor. Jin Se-woon looked at the chest, his face splattered with blood. He thought, he attacked first. I thought he was a formidable opponent. Just ended up dirtying my hands, didn't he? Jin Se-woon sighed, walking down the empty street. Ha, I've seen quite a few people die already. When will this end? He looked at the display again. The number of survivors was still 23. Still 22 people left? Then he was suddenly surprised. Jin Se-woon stared at the name Jin Se-yoon on the screen. Jin Se-yoon? I feel like I've seen that bastard before. Jin Se-woon pondered about Nam Sagwang, the one with the highest kill count. He told himself, I absolutely must stay away from that guy. Jin Se-woon looked at his blood-stained hand, reflecting on the battle. He had only just defeated a weak opponent. I'm still far from reaching Nam Sagwang's level. He knelt, looking towards the light at the end of the tunnel. Before the restricted zone shrinks, I need to quickly level up and get out. Jin Se-woon left, not very satisfied with the loot from the dead opponent's chest. If they had elixirs or rare items, they wouldn't have lost to me so easily. He decided to hide, waiting for the number of survivors to decrease to the maximum extent. A cruel but effective strategy. A week later, the forest grew gloomy. A gray-green wolf monster with glowing red eyes lurked in the bushes, waiting for its prey. A growl echoed. Jin Se-woon realized he had been too lucky when he first entered this game. The harsh reality was slowly becoming clear. He had hidden for too long, unable to acquire valuable loot. A blue energy beam tore through the air, finishing off the monster. "All right, you'll be my meal today," Jin Se-woon thought to himself. He was lucky because he had only moved around the edge of the restricted zone, not yet encountering any enemies. It had been 12 days in Chloe's survival. He wearily chewed dried meat, his face clearly showing fatigue and scratches from the survival battle. He stood before the strange energy wall, looking at the display. Only 20 survivors remained. His hiding strategy had paid off. A stream of blue light enveloped his hand, then vanished. It's all numb," he mumbled, feeling his body's wear and tear. If he went out, he wouldn't be able to move. Throughout the past week, the log only recorded Nam Sagwang's victims. Everyone was extremely vigilant. Even Nam Sagwang was in hiding. Suddenly, Jin Se-woon was surprised, his gaze fixed on a distant point. From afar, a fierce battle was taking place. He looked towards the valley, where smoke, dust, and magical light erupted, signaling a confrontation. A young man with white hair and a face full of wounds exclaimed in panic, "Who are you people?" He was surrounded by a group of warriors. An armored warrior said, "We gathered here with only one goal, to take you down. You have no chance of winning. Just die peacefully, Nam Sagwang." Nam Sagwang sneered. He hadn't expected them to rush him in such numbers. "Thanks. You've saved me the trouble of hunting each of you down." Nam Sagwang flashed a sinister smile, his golden eyes blazing. "Those who want to kill me should at least be prepared to die, shouldn't they? I'll make you understand." Nam Sagwang charged into attack with terrifying speed. A burly warrior fell. Another was flung into the air. Nam Sagwang leaped high, breaking through the enemy's encirclement. The remaining warriors roared in anger, "Catch him! Don't let him escape!" Nam Sagwang delivered a fatal blow, taking down a warrior with a single terrifying punch. He glided like the wind, unleashing a flurry of lightning-fast attacks, sending enemies sprawling in blinding light. The remaining warriors were stunned, their armor stained with blood. "Damn it! How was it just one blow?" Blood smeared on his face. Nam Sagwang subtly smirked. "Now then, too." He continued his rampage, fiery blows tearing through the air, leaving no one standing. This was not a battle. A warrior fell under a verdant blue attack, but a merciless massacre. A blue sword severed. Just by looking at the kill log, everything was clear. Nam Sagwang stood amidst a screen of blood, like a demon. Jin Se-woon stared in astonishment at the status board. Only 9 survivors left. Nam Sagwang had taken down a multitude of opponents. Jin Se-woon exclaimed, "This bastard! Is he really insane? 9 lives at once. Is he cheating?" Nam Sagwang sneered, blood still on his face. "Haha, you nameless nobodies." He stepped through the blood-soaked battlefield, strewn with treasure chests and weapons, the stench of blood. "It's so sticky. Why don't you just die cleanly? Why struggle?" Nam Sagwang wiped the blood from his face, pondering. "Perhaps I should find a valley somewhere." Night fell. The forest grew silent, with only treasure chests and a faintly glowing staff remaining. A figure quietly stepped across the lush green grass, their footsteps light. Jin Se-woon picked up the staff, realizing, "This is Elizabeth's staff." Chiron swore to avenge Elizabeth, his oath echoing in Escrow's name. Under the silver moonlight, majestic mountains appeared, with only 11 souls clinging to life. Deep in the forest, Jin Se-woon calculated. If he held on longer, a spot in the top 10 would be within reach. However, the daytime chaos had changed everything. Facing a powerful foe like Lu Bu, Jin Se-woon needed more reliable items. Jin Se-woon's gaze turned towards the magnificent mansion. He knew that by tomorrow morning, this place would no longer be a safe zone. This was his last chance to loot, before the mansion was sealed off. Jin Se-woon cautiously opened the heavy door, peeking inside with a wary gaze. He exclaimed in surprise, "Wow, that's incredible!" Inside, a vast hall appeared, with majestic stone columns and a magnificent staircase exuding luxury. Jin Se-woon touched the royal guard armor. The system reported insufficient strength, and he shook his head. No way. It would only be a burden. He disappointedly looked at Jin Se-woon's status board. Strength only 30. What a shame. Jin Se-woon turned around, continuing his search in vain. There must be something else. He found a small pouch. Elixir of Clairvoyance increases internal energy, 3-hour cooldown. The system asked, "Use?" He was surprised. An elixir? So I don't need to absorb life force? Is this mansion full of only good stuff? He found a book, acquired the Indestructible Fist martial arts manual. The system asked, "Use?" he exclaimed. "Even a martial arts manual?" Jin Siwon turned his back. He knew, just like the round stone, he would have to hide for 3 hours to use it. Jin Siwon looked up, his eyes wide with confusion, a big question mark hovering in his mind. He looked down at the mysterious cellar door. A glowing blue item. Is that an underground vault? It seems there's something else there. A terrifying explosion erupted, engulfing everything in a brilliant sea of red-orange flame. Jin Seowon was thrown into the air, his face astonished amidst the debris and roaring flame. He soared through the air, completely out of control. Oh my God! Jin Seowon was utterly horrified, his mouth agape. What the hell is this? He was pushed further away, enveloped by the ferocious flames. Damn it! He fell straight into a dense bush, with only his feet sticking out from the foliage. Jin Siwon poked his head out of the bush, his face stunned. Clearly, no one followed me in. What happened? A flash of insight struck him, his eyes wide with horror. That person. I saw them in the waiting room. Archmage Chiron appeared amidst the sea of flames, staff in hand, his eyes sharp and full of rage. Chiron stared at Jin Siwon. You survived my explosion. So you didn't just get lucky killing all those guys, did you? Chiron swore he would remember the name Nam Sagwang. Nam Sagwang appeared, silver-haired, with blazing golden eyes, angrily asking, "What the hell are you talking about?" Nam Sagwang turned back, his eyes blazing. "If I shut your rambling mouth, you're nothing special." Nam Sagwang raised his hand, radiating killing intent. "If you have time to babble, then hurry up and attack. My time is precious." Chiron smirked sinisterly, his eyes flashing. "Let's see how much longer you can ramble." Nam Sagwang smirked, the blood stain on his face adding to his arrogant look. "You talk a lot, don't you?" Jin Seowon horrifyingly realized that the troublemaker, the one likened to Lu Bu, was just a kid? He was utterly bewildered, hiding among the bushes, trying to digest this unbelievable truth. The entity, Escrow, master of incantation magic, raised his staff high. The invocation echoed, "Escrow, cast lightning." Chiron roared in anger, giving a decisive command, "Attack!" A colossal lightning bolt struck down, but Nam Sagwang dodged it like lightning, creating dazzling streaks of light. Chiron furiously yelled, "How long are you going to keep dodging? Try attacking like you did with Elizabeth." Nam Sagwang felt the terrifying power from his opponent. He's not just all talk. I've never seen anything like this, not even in the Central Plains. This power is truly frightening. Chiron gritted his teeth, his patience exhausted. "You cowardly bastard." The entity Escrow concentrated all its power, preparing to deliver a decisive blow. "I will finish you with this move, Nam Sagwang." A terrifying lightning storm was unleashed, engulfing Nam Sagwang. Nam Sagwang stood at the eye of the storm, his golden eyes revealing both terror and determination. He raised his hand, directly facing the lightning bolts, as if absorbing or bending them. With glowing eyes, Nam Sagwang continued to endure, turning the attacks into nothingness. Chiron was startled, unable to believe his eyes at the sight of Nam Sagwang resisting the lightning magic. Amidst the lightning storm, Nam Sagwang sprang up, charging straight towards Chiron, his gaze resolute. Nam Sagwang raised his hand, blue magical energy erupting, ready to counterattack. A terrifying surge of power was being unleashed. Chiron angrily braced himself, blocking the attack. "That's not enough to break my barrier," he roared, determined not to retreat. Chiron swung his staff, roaring die, but Nam Sagwang had turned into a shadow, appearing and disappearing, dodging the fatal attack. Nam Sagwang reappeared, his face scarred with wounds, his eyes clearly showing astonishment at his opponent's power. Chiron flinched, his eyes wide, unable to believe what was happening before him. He had been deceived. Chiron hovered in the air, looking down at the chaotic scene. An illusion, isn't it? He suspected, beginning to realize the truth. Chiron remained hovering as it began to rain. On the ground, Jin Siwon looked up, uttering in confusion, "Huh?" Jin Seowon was astonished in the rain. "It's raining! Is this the effect of magic?" The overwhelming power of Nam Sagwang is so strong that it even affects the weather. Chiron looked around in the rain. Since I can't sense him with the detection item, he must have fled very far. He gritted his teeth in anger. Chiron roared furiously in the rain. "Nam Sagwang! I will definitely catch you and kill you!" The vow of revenge echoed. Nam Sagwang fled, exhausted and panting. His face was clearly marked with wounds, but his will to survive still burned fiercely. Nam Sagwang angrily swore, "That magic-wielding bastard! I was ambushed this time, but next time, I absolutely won't let it slide. I will kill you with my own hands, no matter the cost, Escrow." Under the full moon and the rain, Nam Sagwang decided, First, I need to retreat and recover. He needed to regain his strength. Escrow had disappeared. Jin Siwon realized. The reason I wasn't caught must be thanks to the cloak of invisibility. I've survived another day like this. Jin Siwon mused. Often, the darkest place is right under the lamp. Escrow and Nam Sagwang probably won't come here for a while. He sought safety. Jin Siwon suddenly widened his eyes. He exclaimed joyfully, "Found it!" A glimmer of hope appeared in the night. Jin Siwon wondered if this was a treasure vault or a dungeon hiding riches. He lifted the hatch, looking down the dark, deep staircase. Looks very deep. Jin Siwon mumbled. With a confident smile, Jin Siwon decided to enter. Just go in. It seems no one has set foot here yet. He stepped down the stone stairs, the lantern light illuminating the path. Good thing I picked up this lantern the other day. He touched the wall-mounted lantern, and a warm light flared up, dispelling the darkness. Before him was a massive food storage with dried meat hanging in large wooden barrels. Just a food storage? He was disappointed. If it's just food, that's great. Damn it. I don't have many places left to level up this. He clutched his empty stomach, suddenly realizing. But come to think of it, ever since I got here, I've only eaten bland dried meat. An hour later, Jin Siwon lay sprawled on the floor, surrounded by the remnants of a hearty meal. That was truly a delicious meal. He still felt regret. It would be perfect with some white rice. Well, it's better than nothing. Now, should I try using the elixir? Suddenly remembering, Jin Siwon took out the martial arts book. Ah, right. I also have this martial arts book. Is less than indestructible fist is greater than created by someone named Manhwa. The book told of a martial artist who spent his life creating an unbeatable technique. Yet it had an equal win-loss ratio. Jin Siwon wondered, why did I pick up something like this? Nevertheless, he told himself, it's better than nothing. Anyway, he decided to drink the elixir before practicing martial arts. Jin Siwon raised the vial, pondering, just drink it? Even knowing it would be as painful as activating the round stone. Jin Siwon didn't hesitate, draining the elixir, only wishing to become stronger. Jin Siwon's eyes widened, extreme terror and pain clearly visible on his face. Jin Siwon felt mana surging into his lower dantian, but compared to the amount he'd absorbed before, this was just a drop in the ocean. The pain still tormented him. Jin Siwon's body suddenly went wild, every movement becoming sluggish. He knew he would have to remain motionless for 3 straight hours. 3 hours later, Jin Siwon still sat there, exhausted. He trembled, wondering if the cruel punishment had finally ended. Jin Siwon sighed wearily. 3 hours of immobility truly was torture. Jin Siwon lay sprawled, surprised that he had survived. He had been hiding in the forest for a week, facing both the Grand Archmage and Nam Sagwang. He coughed, his body still battered after days of fleeing. The flickering lantern illuminated the room, marking the passage of another night. A ding sound rang out, and a system notification appeared. Gloyd's Survival Day 13. A wooden trap door, amidst the rubble, revealed a mysterious passage. The trapdoor slowly opened, and a chilling creak echoed. Jin Siwon stepped out, looking up at the sky. He knew he had fallen into a forbidden zone, but he was still a survivor. Jin Siwon looked at the leaderboard, surprised to see a player eliminated in the middle of the night. Huh? Someone got eliminated in the middle of the night? Jin Siwon was horrified, his eyes wide with shock. What? The leaderboard clearly showed Zhang Doqian is greater than Zhang Doqian, self-eliminated. Jin Siwon was stunned. How did that old man end up like this? Could it be that, knowing there was no risk, he chose an insane training method? A treasure chest appeared. There's no other reason for him to eliminate himself, Jin Siwon mused. Getting into the top 10 is good, but not this way. Jin Siwon dashed away, magical squares glowing beneath his feet, signaling that the safe zone was shrinking. Jin Siwon worried as the map shrunk. He muttered to himself, the map has shrunk. How can I get into the top 10? I can't be eliminated for being stuck in the forbidden zone. I need to get out of here quickly. He hurried along, his moss-green cloak fluttering, trying to escape the tightening encirclement. Jin Siwon dashed like an arrow, gripping his crossbow tightly. He resolved, for now, I'll try to hold out as long as possible, without engaging in combat. He believed it was the only path for someone weak like him. That's the only way a weak person like me can climb the ranks. Suddenly, a sense of danger struck, making Jin Siwon's eyes widen in horror. A gigantic fireball exploded, tearing through the forest, turning everything into a sea of fire and ashes. Jin Siwon fell to the ground, exclaiming in shock, what the hell? Where did that come from? A mage who can cast such a powerful fireball. A terrifying thought flashed through his mind, making him turn pale. Could it be? Amidst the charred path, A white-clad figure appeared, standing tall amidst the desolate landscape. Chiron, with his characteristic pointed ears, suddenly raised his hand, his sharp, cold eyes exclaiming, "Escrow." Chiron mused. What's going on? Something triggered my item detection ability. I thought it was Nam Sagwang, but that's a face I've never seen. Jin Seowon blamed himself. I was distracted by moving quickly with my newfound internal energy, and I neglected my surroundings. What an idiot! Chiron turned his back and asked Jin Seowon, who was standing far away.
By the way, do you know where a guy named Nam Sagwang is?
Chiron held his staff, continuing in a cold voice. If you don't know, he flashed a sinister smile, the threat echoing, then you will die here. Chiron, staff in hand, angrily cursed Jin Seowon as an insolent brat. He challenged how long Jin Seowon could keep speaking so loudly. Chiron issued an ultimatum, demanding Jin Seowon reveal Nam Sagwang's whereabouts. He coldly declared that otherwise, Jin Seowon would die because keeping him alive was just a nuisance. Jin Seowon was bewildered, not understanding what Chiron was saying. He retorted in horror. Hey, what are you talking about? We just met. How would I know that? Jin Seowon froze, his blue eyes wide with horror at the threat. Chiron explained that he only asked because Jin Seowon looked like someone from the same land. If not, then just die. His words were cold as ice. Suddenly, a surge of green energy erupted from Jin Seowon's body. Chiron faced the now-appeared Nam Sagwang, who unleashed a fierce attack. Chiron was surprised by the attack. He wondered, had Nam Sagwang been hiding all this time? Nam Sagwang flashed a sinister smile, his golden eyes glowing fiercely. He declared he had fully recovered and taunted Chiron about his remaining mana. Jin Seowon was utterly terrified, unable to believe his eyes. Where did Nam Sagwang come from again? Nam Sagwang roared furiously, his fist erupting with energy. He decided to end the battle immediately. Nam Sagwang unleashed a powerful punch, colliding directly with Chiron's staff, creating a violent shockwave. Chiron looked up, his face confident. He believed such a simple attack couldn't harm him. But then, a sound echoed. Chiron's eyes widened in horror, fresh blood splattering. Nam Sagwang flashed a demonic smile, his golden eyes blazing. He asked Chiron, "Have you ever heard of Gangi?" Nam Sagwang revealed a secret. Among them, Shugang is a martial art few have mastered. I didn't think I'd have to use this move in this world. Nam Sagwang proudly declared, "You are the first person I've shown this to here. Consider it an honor, Archmage." Chiron coughed violently, in pain. A devastating punch from Nam Sagwang sent Chiron flying, blood splattering. Chiron's desperate scream tore through the air. Nam Sagwang coldly watched Chiron struggling. "Now you can't cast those annoying spells anymore, can you?" Chiron could only whimper. Nam Sagwang smirked, proudly declaring, "Someone as talented as you should have been in the top 5. Regret ever meeting me." Jin Seowon hid, observing the brutal battle. He thought to himself, is Nam Sagwang's appearance a stroke of luck? While those two are busy, I need to make a quick escape. Jin Seowon's face clearly showed fear and despair. He secretly thought, just die already. Chiron was hit again, fresh blood splattering, staining the ground red. The next blow sent Chiron flying, his body enveloped in blue energy. Then he crashed down. Chiron cried out in pain. Chiron lay prostrate, blood gushing from his mouth, his eyes filled with despair. Jin Seowon observed Archmage Escrow, Chiron, who seemed invincible, suffer a crushing defeat against Nam Sagwang. Jin Seowon's face clearly showed a mix of shock and fear. A dark thought suddenly flashed in Jin Seowon's mind. If I could absorb their life force, how strong would I become? Nam Sagwang stood over Chiron, mocking, "Where's the confident one from yesterday? Now, only this half-dead corpse remains." He asked, "Any last words?" Then answered himself, "Ah, right. You can't speak because of me." Chiron could only remain silent, his gaze empty. Suddenly a voice echoed in Nam Sagwang's mind. "Elizabeth, my dearest disciple, was killed by you, you bastard." Nam Sagwang was confused. "Huh? What are you saying in my head?" Chiron's thoughts continued. When she wasn't recognized by the academy and was expelled from school just for being a girl, Chiron painfully recalled, "I've regretted endlessly not stopping her." Nam Sagwang was surprised. "A girl? Then I can't help but notice." He wondered, perhaps she looked no different from a man. Nam Sagwang, with a cruel smile, declared, "Now I can shut your filthy mouth for good." Chiron was stunned, his golden eyes wide with astonishment. "What did you just say?" Deep down, Jin Seowon panicked, trying to hold on. "Wait!" Jin Seowon knelt in shock amidst a sea of fire, looking up. "What is this?" A terrifying explosion erupted in the sky, engulfing everything in blinding flame. Jin Seowon looked up in horror. A gigantic fiery meteor hurtling down.
A meteor!
Chiron collapsed, his figure swallowed by the fierce flames. Nam Sagwang screamed frantically, his face covered in blood and confusion. No, he can't cast spells! How did this bastard do that? Chiron, in his final moments, used his life force to cast Armageddon, the Archmage's ultimate spell. Nam Sagwang was caught in the explosion, roaring with fury. This crazy bastard! Jin Sewoon in horror blamed himself. Damn it, I should have run away sooner. Chiron vanished in a brilliant golden light, uttering his last words. Elizabeth, it's good to see you again after all these years. Chiron's figure gradually disappeared, carrying the hope of reunion. I hope we can meet again. Where Chiron vanished, a wooden chest appeared, emitting a faint golden light. The ground shook, exploding under the meteor's terrifying destructive power. A man with long white hair stood silently, his eyes fixed on the fiery explosion tearing through the night, staining the entire sky red. His face hardened, a thought flashed through his mind. If he's someone who can use magic of that caliber, then it can only be one person. Meanwhile, Jin Sewoon collapsed, his body disintegrating in pain, sharp shards of ice piercing his flesh. Damn it, I should have run faster, all because of that damn vitality. He struggled in despair, a faint purple energy surging from his hand. I can't die so miserably like this. Jin Sewoon gritted his teeth, tearing open a recovery scroll, a blue light enveloping his body. I've been grinding for tons of recovery scrolls for moments like this. He staggered to his feet, limping through the crumbling ruins. I almost died. If I hadn't used a tonic, I wouldn't have escaped. Even after using the scroll, the pain still tormented Jin Sewoon, so he used another. Even though I recovered, it still hurts too much. One recovery scroll isn't enough. He turned his back, looking at the desolate scene behind him, and let out a sigh of relief. Egu, I can finally breathe a little now. Jin Sewoon was exhausted, clutching his wound.
Phew! I've used up all the recovery scrolls I'd stockpiled. I have to survive!
A system panel appeared before his eyes, displaying the words survivor like a grim affirmation. Jin Sewoon looked at the system log. Nam Sagwang is greater than escrow, he muttered. So escrow really is dead. It's a shame I couldn't absorb his vitality, but I guess it can't be helped. He suddenly flinched, his eyes wide with horror. But why isn't there a death log for Nam Sagwang? Is he still alive? A faint cry for help echoed, startling Jin Sewoon. Help! M! He spun around, his hurried footsteps pushing through the dense forest. The sound definitely came from this direction. Jin Sewoon frantically pushed aside the giant leaves, his face filled with worry. Please, is anyone there? Jin Sewoon's eyes widened, staring in horror at the scene before him. Nam Sagwang lay amidst the rubble, covered in blood. He gasped, I wish I could use this scroll. He despaired. I can't die like this. Jin Sewoon observed Nam Sagwang, realizing he had struggled to dodge the meteor. He deduced, if he can't use both hands, how can he tear a recovery scroll? Nam Sagwang desperately called out, Hey, you there, quick, tear this for me. Jin Sewoon approached, calmly asking, You're Nam Sagwang, aren't you? Nam Sagwang's face changed color, his golden eyes wide with terror. He realized he had been exposed. Jin Sewoon sneered, looking down at Nam Sagwang. He mocked. Every time you appeared in the kill log, I wondered what item you got to be so strong. He continued. I thought you would win this game. Who knew it would end like this? Nam Sagwang struggled, desperately pleading. If you help me this time, I'll make you the winner. He even threatened. Do you think you can win alone? You can't kill me now, can you? Jin Sewoon drew his dagger, its blade shimmering with a mystical purple hue. He whispered, If I get Nam Sagwang's items and vitality. Jin Sewoon raised his dagger high, his eyes glowing red, declaring, I will become the winner of this game. Nam Sagwang screamed in horror. No! Nam Sagwang wailed in despair. Killing me is useless. You don't know how many strong individuals are hiding out there, he continued. I don't even have many items. My martial arts weren't learned here. Jin Sewoon smiled coldly, declaring, You should at least know the name of the one who ended you, he stated clearly. My name is Jin Sewoon. Nam Sagwang shrieked in his final despair. I might die like this time. He swore, but I will never forget. Nam Sagwang's eyes blazed with extreme resentment and horror in his final moments. Jin Sewoon didn't hesitate, plunging his dagger straight into Nam Sagwang. His cry was cut short, drowning in a sea of blood and crimson energy. Jin Sewoon sighed in relief, wiping the sweat from his brow. He muttered, Phew, why did he look so much like a child? It makes me feel so guilty. Jin Sewoon was astonished, feeling a surge of emerald energy swirling around him. Something had just changed, beyond his expectation. Jin Se-woon's emerald eyes widened, reflecting a brilliant green light. Life energy was exploding, permeating every cell. Jin Se-woon exclaimed in astonishment, his entire body enveloped by a powerful surge of vitality.
Oh, an incredible amount of vitality.
Jin Se-woon sneered, his eyes gleaming with greed. He felt the surging power within. Nam Sagwang, that bastard. He really was a living elixir, wasn't he? A massive amount of internal energy is surging within me. Jin Se-woon turned his head. A sudden system notification appearing before his eyes. Survivor. An armored warrior stood tall. Beside him, a system notification 8/100. It seemed this was the number of survivors. From behind a warrior, a system notification appeared. Jin Se-yoon is greater than Nam Sagwang, relaxing with a longsword. A familiar name appeared again. A man with long white hair and pointed ears sat high on a tree branch, his gaze sharp. Now that the tiger is dead, the man with long white hair raised his head, his hand gripping a bow. He continued, his voice full of caution. The foxes will run wild. Jin Se-woon was ecstatic, brilliant green energy surrounding him. That's a massive amount of internal energy. With this much, I think I can fight anyone now. Jin Se-woon stared at the old wooden chest on the ground. He muttered. Nam Sagwang's chest. Jin Se-woon reached out and touched the chest. He speculated about Nam Sagwang's strength and worried the chest might be empty. With this much internal energy, he must have been very strong from the start. Surely he didn't just level up for nothing, right? I'd be a little disappointed if it's empty. Without hesitation, Jin Se-woon flung open the chest. A brilliant blue light erupted, illuminating the entire forest. Jin Se-woon's face changed, his eyes wide with horror. He stammered, his voice trembling. This is? Before Jin Se-woon's eyes were countless rings, each possessing extraordinary power. Kaiser rings for agility, Dreamer rings for strength, Galen rings for stamina, Toha rings for magic resistance. Jin Se-woon stared at the sparkling rings in his hands, his eyes filled with contempt. Nam Sagwang. This bastard only knows how to farm rare items? And then he pretends not to rely on equipment? What a piece of trash, he gritted his teeth. A mysterious surge of energy flooded Jin Se-woon's body, making him dizzy. He clutched his head, a cry of astonishment escaping him. Oh, the entire space seemed to tremble with his perception. Turning his back to the hazy forest, Jin Se-woon summoned a brilliant yellow digital information panel. He exclaimed, "My information." His gaze focused on the screen before him. The information panel clearly displayed, name Jin Se-woon, race human, profession martial artist, mage. Strength, stamina, agility, and magic resistance stats were all astronomically high. Jin Se-woon was astonished. Wow, these stats are no joke, are they? With such incredible stats at his disposal, Jin Se-woon suddenly burst into laughter, clenching his fists in excitement. He confidently declared, at this rate, victory is definitely within reach. Ambition blazed in his eyes. Besides the rings, Jin Se-woon also found many ancient martial arts books. But he couldn't learn them. It seems like a prerequisite internal energy cultivation technique is needed, he speculated, his eyes filled with regret. In the middle of the deep green forest, Jin Se-woon suddenly stopped, turning his back to look into the void. He softly said, wait a minute. A sense of unease crept into his mind. The space around Jin Se-woon suddenly became eerily silent. He tensed, sensing, I feel someone approaching. An invisible danger was lurking. Jin Se-woon sharply turned his head, his cold blue eyes sweeping across the forest. He muttered, escort team, fire. An ominous premonition struck him, catching him by surprise. A fierce burst of fire erupted, hurtling straight towards Jin Se-woon. The shout, attack, echoed, tearing through the forest silence. Blazing fire engulfed the entire frame. Amidst the hazy blue smoke, a man with two-toned hair appeared, holding a magic staff. He sneered, tsk, you can't be that naive when grinding. A smirk appeared on his lips. The man with two-toned hair looked at Jin Se-woon with a smug expression. He continued, seeing you fall into such a sudden trap, eliminating Nam Sagwang must have been pure luck. He seemed to know Jin Se-woon's past well. Jin Se-woon stood firm, completely unharmed after the fire attack. The man with two-toned hair was astonished. What? No. You're fine after taking my fire spell? Jin Se-woon merely asked back softly. What was that? Jin Se-woon calmly looked straight ahead, a notification panel appearing. Jin Se-woon's magic resistance 90. He mused. I thought I saw a flash of light. His superior magic resistance had kept him safe. Jin Se-woon continued to walk, his shoes treading on the frozen ground, creating soft sounds. He maintained a calm expression, unfazed by the newly appeared enemy. The enemy retreated, his eyes wary as he looked at Jin Si-woon. He shouted, "Back off! What trick are you playing?" He continued to threaten, "If you come any closer, I'll use a stronger spell to deal with you." The enemy roared, swinging his magic staff to summon blazing flames. He chanted, "Escrow's Legion Flame." The entire space erupted in an orange-red glow. Amidst the sea of fire, Jin Si-woon remained calm. He subtly smirked, thinking, but it's useless. His eyes were sharp and unwavering. The smug enemy roared, "Explode!" A terrifying explosion erupted, engulfing Jin Si-woon in a sea of fire. The heat spread throughout the forest. At the heart of the firestorm, Jin Si-woon still stood tall. The flames couldn't touch him, only highlighting his resolute gaze. He clenched his fists, ready to strike. Jin Si-woon gritted his teeth, his eyes blazing. He whispered the name of the technique he was about to unleash. Peerless Fist, Chapter 1. A surge of power erupted from him. Jin Si-woon unleashed a thunderous punch, a stream of blue energy tearing through the air. He roared, "Direct Severing Fist!" The punch pierced through the defense, striking the enemy directly. The enemy fell back, his face contorted in horror and pain. Fresh blood gushed from his mouth, staining the space red. He couldn't believe his eyes. The enemy's body was flung far, slamming hard into an ancient tree, creating a massive impact. He fell to the ground, motionless, with no strength left to resist. Jin Si-woon looked down at his hands, surprised. He thought, "What? I didn't have high expectations. I thought this martial art always failed." He speculated, "Indeed, the power of martial arts changes depending on the internal energy one possesses." The enemy lay groaning at the base of the tree, his body battered. Jin Si-woon stood at a distance, calmly observing. He had completely overwhelmed his opponent with just one strike. The enemy dissolved into fragments of blue light, a notification panel appearing. Survivors, 7/100. Jin Si-woon had defeated his opponent with his icy sword technique. Jin Si-woon stood in the middle of the forest, blue light surrounding him. He mused, "Perhaps because my magic resistance is too high, even decent magic can't scratch me." Jin Si-woon turned his back, his eyes scanning the forest. He quietly assessed. Now that Nam Sagwang is dead, all those who were just watching are starting to crawl out. In the silent forest, Jin Si-woon stood alone. He sighed, knowing, "Tonight, I'm afraid it will be a long one." The battle had only just begun. Jin Si-woon glided like a ghost, his figure merging into the night with astonishing speed. Streaks of blue light swept past, leaving faint after-images. He raised his head, a smug smile on his face. "Now I can imitate the Elder's Qinggong too. Thank you, Elder. I will definitely win." An hour later, the emerald moonlight still hung suspended above the forest, illuminating the silent space. Jin Si-woon clung to a tree trunk, hidden within his hazy blue cloak, observing the movements around him. A resounding voice broke the silence. "Hey, Jin Si-woon, stop hiding, come out and play." Jin Si-woon frowned, thinking, "Someone this noisy in the middle of the night? Jihark is quite a useful mage, isn't he?" A brown-haired warrior swung a giant sword, charging aggressively. "If you're not a coward, then come out and fight like a man," Stark sneered contemptuously. "Cowards! Where are you hiding? You're hiding because you're afraid of me, Stark!" Stark stood tall, his heavy sword raised, his sharp eyes sweeping across the forest, waiting for his enemy to appear. Suddenly, Stark's eyes widened in surprise, his expression changing as he sensed something. A blue energy burst, sending Stark flying backward through the air, causing him to lose his balance. Stark roared furiously. "A cowardly sneak attack? Come out and fight fair, you bastard! An arrow?" Jin Si-woon was surprised, his eyes scrutinizing. "Who is that?" Stark narrowed his eyes, his voice deepening. "Only you could imbue so much spiritual energy into an arrow and shoot it." Stark looked up, gazing at the treetop. A female warrior holding a bow appeared. Her name was Juroquana. Juroquana, the white-haired, pointy-eared archer, appeared mysteriously. Stark looked up, asking if she knew him. Juroquana coldly replied, "No, isn't it obvious?" Stark realized Juroquana was the renowned divine archer. He exclaimed, "The reputation of the divine archer Juroquana is already legendary among us mercenaries." Stark proposed cooperation, his tone calculating. "Juroquana, isn't your goal to win this competition?" He continued to entice. "Let's join forces. Let's take down Jin Si-woon first." Juroquana pondered, her eyes sharp. She softly uttered, considering the offer. With a decision made, Juroquana strode forward, faint blue spiritual energy emanating around her feet. Juroquana stopped, facing Stark. He confidently introduced himself. "You've made a wise decision. I am Stark. I work as a mercenary in the guild." Stark continued to boast, Even if you don't recognize me, I'm a rather famous mercenary in the guild. You definitely won't regret it. Jurikwana simply replied. Understood. She showed no emotion, merely accepting. Stark turned his back, contemptuously speaking of Jin Se-woon. They say he's a divine archer, but his mind is surely useless. Jurikwana suddenly calculated, muttering, Did I miscalculate the timing 2 seconds? No. About 1 second. She narrowed her eyes, her voice icy. An archer shouldn't make mistakes when creating distance. Huh? Stark was surprised. Jurikwana suddenly attacked Stark. He screamed in pain. Just drop your items and die. Jurikwana unleashed a powerful blow, the spiritual energy arrow sending Stark flying far away, creating a small explosion. Stark lay slumped, blood splattered. Jurikwana stood above him, contemptuously. Me, cooperate with a minion like you? Even a passing dog would laugh. Hidden in the shadows, Jin Se-woon thought to himself, right now, quickly finding Jin Se-woon's location is the top priority. I've wasted time. His figure faded, his mind heavy. Only 6 people left. Everyone's life force is crucial. Jin Se-woon reached out, his gaze resolute. Hurry, quickly become my inner power. In the distance, Jurikwana suddenly became alert, her pointy ears subtly twitching in the night. The divine archer stood straight, her hand gripping her bow tightly, her sharp eyes sweeping across the silent forest. Jurikwana's face showed a hint of confusion, as if she sensed an invisible presence. Jin Se-woon flinched, startled. What is this? My stealth cloak can't be detected even with detection magic, can it? Cold sweat ran down his back. He realized his mistake. Isn't she just an archer? Does she have some ability I don't know about? Damn it, Jurikwana scoffed. She's trash anyway, so she probably only has trash items. She turned her back and walked away, abandoning the defeated foe. He would only be a burden. Jurikwana strode on, unaware that Jin Se-woon was still hidden, observing her every move. Stark lay motionless on the ground, his body still faintly glowing with the ethereal blue light of the attack. Jin Se-woon sat leaning against a tree, deep in thought. She has a strangely keen sense, he mused. Recalling her words, she said her name was Jurikwana, right? Jin Se-woon's eyes flashed with determination. It seems my next opponent will be her. A mystical night enveloped the forest, with glowing blue hexagonal cells forming a mysterious barrier. The blue hexagonal cells continued to spread, like an invisible net tightening around the space. The blue energy grid became increasingly distinct, signaling an approaching chain. Jin Se-woon darted through the night, surrounded by a faint blue light. He realized, the restricted zone seems to be shrinking faster. Jin Se-woon's gaze was resolute amidst the blue energy current. Now, there are only 6 survivors in total. There are still 87 days left. Does it shrink faster depending on the number of survivors? Jin Se-woon was startled, his eyes wide open. Oh! He hid himself in the lush green reed field, a figure in the distance. An open area here? The mysterious figure still stood there, in the wilderness, eerily silent. Jin Se-woon concealed himself in his faint blue cloak, pondering, if I encounter an enemy here, it will attract too much attention from others. Suddenly, sharp green energy streams tore through the air, shooting straight towards him. Jin Se-woon startled, turning his head, alert to the strange sound. What was that noise? The green energy streams, like arrows, attacked relentlessly, and Jin Se-woon hastily dodged. Jin Se-woon's face revealed a look of horror. He realized he was being targeted. The green energy streams continued to bombard fiercely, creating dazzling streaks of light in the darkness. Jin Se-woon rolled to dodge the attack, but the green light streams relentlessly pursued him. He evaded amidst the barrage of attacks, pondering anxiously. This is definitely a spellcast with precise targeting on me. They can't see me, so how do they know my location to attack? The pursuing spell came crashing down again, surrounding Jin Se-woon. He gritted his teeth. It's coming again. The spells came in greater numbers, leaving no escape route. Jin Se-woon thought to himself, there are more than before. I can't dodge anymore. Facing danger, Jin Se-woon had no way to retreat. He could only confront it. Jin Se-woon decided to take a risk, his gaze resolute. He told himself, it's come to this. There's nothing left to lose. I trust my inner strength. Jin Se-woon roared, gathering his strength and unleashing. Infinite Fist, Chapter 1. Limit. Straight Punch. Jin Se-woon's punch exploded, a blue energy surge sweeping away the surrounding spell. The power from the punch spread fiercely, pushing back everything in its path. Jin Se-woon was surprised by the power he had just unleashed. He exclaimed, maybe I'm stronger than I thought? Well, Jin Se-woon's stealth cloak gradually faded away, revealing his figure in the night. Jin Se-woon landed, his gaze sharp. He told himself, first, I need to find the enemy's location. Jin Se-woon once again activated his stealth skill. Soaring high up, and disappearing into the night. He was surprised when he realized something. A black-skinned man hid behind a bush, looking at Jin Si-woon in surprise. He sneered. So you were hiding there. No. What kind of person is he? He was angry, gritting his teeth. That was a spell I poured all my mana into, yet he neutralized it so easily. Jin Si-woon panicked, his eyes wide. He cried out, "Wait!" A dagger suddenly stabbed through Jin Si-woon's side, fresh blood splattering. The black-skinned man clutched his wound, his gaze bewildered. What the hell is this? How did it come to this? The black-skinned man was astonished. I couldn't sense any presence. Jin Si-woon coldly replied, "You should have saved your mana for detection spells or shields." Jin Si-woon whispered, "For an assassin like me, erasing one's presence is as easy as pie." He added, "Rest in peace." A blue light flared up, ending the black-skinned man's life. A notification appeared. Survivors, 5/100. Jin Si-woon glided swiftly, his feet light as the wind. Jin Si-woon turned his head, his sharp, cold gaze looking ahead. "You must be Jin Si-woon." Jin Si-woon was surprised. "You know me?" The dark-haired man replied. "Of course, you eliminated Nam Sagwang, a public enemy." "How could I not know?" Jin Si-woon was pensive, his eyes showing a worried look. "All the remaining survivors are probably desperate to catch you." The dark blue-haired man said coldly, "Don't boast in vain, just die peacefully." He added, "I've never missed a target I've aimed for." The dark blue-haired man shot off like an arrow tearing through the wind, with terrifying speed. The dark blue-haired man roared, "Hand over everything and die." Jin Si-woon dodged the sharp attack with agile footwork. The dark blue-haired man scoffed. Too slow. A sudden attack tore through the air, and fresh blood splattered everywhere. Jin Si-woon clutched his wound, blood soaking his clothes. His gaze remained resolute, unwavering. The dark blue-haired man was surprised. "I intended to finish you off instantly, but you're more stubborn than I thought." Jin Si-woon thought to himself, "If not for my internal energy protection, I would have been cut in half." The dark blue-haired man thought to himself that Jin Si-woon was strong, but death was only a matter of time. He had never failed in the darkness. Jin Si-woon was surprised. He had always faced mages, but now it was an assassin. Jin Si-woon suddenly realized the darkness his opponent mentioned. Could it be? The dark blue-haired man appeared, holding twin daggers, and coldly declared, "Now I will finish you off." He lunged forward, his figure transforming into blurry streaks, as if dissolving into the night. Only his feet briefly appeared, then also vanished, leaving behind empty space. Jin Si-woon was astonished when the enemy vanished. Suddenly, he appeared right behind him, with sharp, cold eyes. The dark blue-haired man swung his dagger, attacking swiftly from behind. Jin Si-woon barely managed to dodge. Jin Si-woon was surprised. The dark blue-haired man praised his stealth skill. "Your stealth skill is quite impressive." The dark blue-haired man searched for Jin Si-woon. He sneered. "Your stealth cloak is far inferior to the." Suddenly, Jin Si-woon appeared and swiftly grabbed the enemy's wrist. Jin Si-woon said coldly, "I can pinpoint your location by tracking your energy." The dark blue-haired man was furious. "What? From behind? You coward!" Jin Si-woon looked directly at his enemy with sharp, cold eyes. "You said you'd finish me off? Go on. Keep boasting like before." The dark blue-haired man was caught off guard by the attack, his face contorted in pain. A painful groan tore through the night from the dark blue-haired man. The dark blue-haired man panicked. "Can you deal with the rest of them alone? Cooperate with me to win first place." A dark-skinned man was suddenly attacked. The dark blue-haired man yelled in panic, "Can you deal with the rest of them alone? If you cooperate with me and aim for first place." Before the offer was finished, a wolf monster lunged, tearing apart the dark-skinned man's body. Fresh blood splattered, staining the entire area red. The horrifying scene repeated. The wolf monster continued its attack, completely finishing off the unfortunate dark-skinned man. Jin Si-woon thoughtfully looked at the status board. Survivors, 4/100. A system message appeared. Jin Si-woon has defeated Tomiren with swordsmanship. Jin Si-woon calmly read a scroll. "I absorbed the life energy of 2 people and used their healing scrolls to recover." He continued to mumble. "With such great chaos, I quickly looted and tried to escape the area." Jin Si-woon was surprised, holding a glowing purple magic book in his hand. What? This assassin? He actually has something this unexpected? Information about the book appeared. Phantom Footsteps Soul Control Scroll. You can create your own clones to fight alongside you. The number of clones is proportional to your internal energy. The system asked, "Do you want to learn it?" Yes? No. Jin Si-woon sighed in relief. Fortunately, he didn't know how to utilize internal energy. He mused. If he had obtained this, and known how to use it properly, I would have had a hard time winning. He found another book. Inside the dead man's box, there was a magic book called Is Less Than Carmen's Eye Is Greater Than. Jin Seowon realized, Is less than Carmen's eye is greater than is said to be the highest level detection magic, capable of seeing through all stealth skills. But a harsh truth. My level is too low, so I can't learn it. Jin Seowon frowned, finally understanding. So that's how he knew my location. A stealth cloak isn't invincible after all. He pondered, becoming more aware of the limitations of his stealth skill. Jin Seowon gripped the book, his eyes wide with surprise. He realized how the enemy found him. So that's how he knew my location. The cloaking robe isn't invincible after all. A brightly glowing arrow tore through the air, heading straight for Jin Seowon's face, making him flinch and narrowly dodge it. As the arrow of light flew towards him, Jin Seowon tilted his head to dodge, his sharp gaze fixed on the attacker. Jin Seowon stood upright, his eyes scrutinizing the arrow deeply embedded in the ground. An arrow? He was surprised by the weapon that had almost taken his life. An arrow? Jin Seowon pondered, the blood stain on his face intensifying his resolute expression. If that's an archer among the remaining survivors, he contemplated the new enemy, his sharp gaze sweeping across the desolate landscape. If that's an archer among the remaining survivors, a massive surge of green energy descended from the sky, engulfing Jin Seowon. The dazzling green light swallowed everything, and Jin Seowon looked up, facing the destructive attack. Jin Seowon gritted his teeth, his face a mix of panic and anger. This is magic I've never seen. Wasn't that an archer just now? He was stunned, realizing the attacker had changed, or there was another enemy. This is magic I've never seen. Wasn't that an archer just now? Jin Seowon decided not to dodge anymore, his gaze firm. Whatever it is, it's too late to dodge. I'll pour all my inner strength into this punch. Jin Seowon unleashed a powerful punch, a brilliant green energy exploding. Infinite fist, limit break, direct punch. Jin Seowon's fist collided directly with the magical surge, creating a violent shockwave. The terrifying power from the punch shattered the green magic into countless fragments. Amidst the shattered energy, Jin Seowon remained suspended, his resolute gaze unwavering. Jin Seowon suddenly realized there were two attacks simultaneously. Is it a coordinated attack? He wondered, his face filled with worry. A shadow flashed past, and Jin Seowon narrowly dodged. He's quite strong indeed, he thought to himself, his eyes scrutinized. A blonde-haired warrior in a red cloak swung a glowing sword and charged forward. The lightning-fast attack tore through the air with terrifying power. Jin Seowon slid across the ground, generating a stream of green energy. He quickly counterattacked, dodging dangerous blows and looking for opening. Jin Seowon gritted his teeth. Damn it. It's a group of 3, he muttered, realizing he was facing a difficult situation. Jin Seowon was surrounded by 3 enemies. The blonde-haired man coldly declared, Your luck ends here. The 3 enemies revealed themselves. Sinturk, King of Hressen, Gairon, the Demon King's right hand, and Jordana, the Divine Archer. The system displayed the text, Only Jin Seowon. Jin Seowon sighed. Ha, damn it. What do I do now? Amidst the gloomy scene, Jin Seowon was besieged by 3 enemies. Jin Seowon, your luck ends here. A voice echoed. Jin Seowon was annoyed. Damn it, just one more step and they're cooperating? The fastest way to break an alliance is to make them betray each other. But I don't understand their intentions. These people I've never met. Gairon, the hooded figure, jumped up. He said to Sinturk, Your Majesty, King of Carson, it is an honor to meet you. Sinturk angrily said. A petty dark mage dares to speak to a king? Gairon chuckled. Apologies for the rudeness. But here, there's something more important than status, Gairon asked. Wouldn't it be better to cooperate with a scoundrel, if it means a great reward? Jin Seowon was surprised. So, this isn't a planned alliance? Sinturk ordered Jordana. Then, you deal with his annoying cloaking ability. Jordana replied. That's as easy as pie. Jordana's hand suddenly glowed brightly, magical energy converging, ready to unleash an attack. Sinturk exclaimed in shock, What the hell is this? Dazzling light enveloped everything. Something unexpected was happening. Jin Seowon gritted his teeth, straining to withstand the tremendous pressure from the attack. The terrifying light from Jordana erupted, sweeping away all shadows. Now there's nowhere left for you to hide, she coldly declared. Gairon smirked. Ho ho, he's smarter than I thought. Jin Seowon realized in astonishment. This method works too. He understood that the invisibility cloak was only effective in darkness, so it wasn't without weaknesses. Gairon spoke, his eyes sharp. I want to thank that guy, Nam Sagwang, for killing Escrow, who was always a thorn in my side. I can't convey that message. But what are the rules here? Gairon declared. Therefore, you too, in the name of the great demon king, it's time for you to die. Gairon launched into the air, dark energy erupting into sharp blades. Chaos blades, he roared. Jin Siwoo assessed. From experience, mages are usually at a disadvantage in close combat. He calculated, if I get close, even if I might get caught in their magic, it will make it difficult for them to cast properly. Jin Saowun declared decisively, no matter what, I'll end this with extreme close combat. Gairon raged. You fool! Die! He unleashed a fierce attack, pushing Jin Siwoo back. Jin Saowun was surrounded by a storm of dark blades, his cloak torn to shreds by the terrifying onslaught. Jin Saowun poured all his inner energy, creating a protective layer around his body to reduce damage. No matter what, I have to break through and get close. Jin Saowun, he muttered to himself. A pained groan escaped him, fresh blood splattering as Jin Siwoo was severely wounded, his cloak tattered. Jin Siwoo's invisibility cloak was damaged, losing its function until repaired. Jin Siwoo gritted his teeth. Damn it, my inner energy is disintegrating. And the cloak too? Gairon looked at the energy storm, self-satisfied. Like this, he must have been torn into 100 pieces, leaving no trace. Gairon unleashed the Severing Fist, Chapter 1, with a smug expression. The glowing purple punch descended, creating a terrifying shockwave. Jin Saowun was sent flying, falling to the ground, while Gairon unleashed another straight-cut fist, standing high above with imposing authority. Jin Saowun collapsed, his face stained with blood, his body enveloped by ferocious purple energy. He was in extreme pain. Gairon smiled disdainfully, his hand radiating deadly energy. You foolish brat! You have no chance of winning! Give up! He unleashed the chaotic death hand. A gigantic skeletal hand of purple energy materialized, striking the ground and creating a terrifying destructive force. The ground shook and cracked as Gairon's death hand slammed down, crushing everything to dust. Jin Saowun was buried, realizing Gairon was far stronger than any mage he had faced. This opponent is on a completely different level compared to the mages I've encountered. Despite being severely wounded, Jin Saowun gathered all his strength, chanting the Spirit Phantom Step spell to counterattack. A series of Jin Siwoo's illusions erupted, rushing like ghosts, forming a purple vortex. Gairon was astonished to see Jin Siwoo using illusions. What? I thought you only knew how to fight with your fists, but you can use illusion magic too? You're causing trouble. Jin Saowun charged straight at Gairon, unleashing a fatal blow. With this move, my victory is complete. Suddenly, Senturk appeared, swinging his sword and activating a protective shield. Senturk, with a cold expression, unleashed penetrating chi, a powerful surge of energy. Senturk unexpectedly stabbed through Gairon, severely wounding him. Jin Saowun witnessed the horrifying scene, completely stunned. Gairon looked at Senturk in horror. What? This is the one who calls himself king, doing such a despicable thing. Senturk replied, there is no greater reason than victory. I never said I would cooperate with a lowly person like you. Senturk coldly declared that he would thank the one who helped remove the obstacle. A fatal sword strike descended upon Gairon. On the cliff, the archer Jurakwana looked down in surprise. So, it's just the two of us left? She exclaimed, her eyes scrutinizing. Senturk thoughtfully mentioned the divine archer Jurakwana, who was once a threat. It's strange that we face each other in a duel. Jurakwana gave a mysterious smile. It seems it's not time yet, is it? A glint flashed in her sharp eyes. Jin Saowun, his face covered in blood, suddenly charged to attack. Senturk spun around, exclaiming in astonishment. What the hell are you talking about? A fatal blow from Jin Saowun struck Senturk directly, creating a stream of glowing purple energy. Senturk tried to defend, but the furious strike still pierced through. Senturk was sent flying into the air, his armor shattering. Fresh blood splattered, and he reeled in midair, enduring bone-piercing pain. From above, the archer Jurakwana unleashed a brilliant blue energy arrow. The arrow tore through the wind, flying straight towards the severely wounded Senturk. Jin Saowun gasped, each heavy breath tearing through the night. His body was exhausted, but his eyes still burned with determination. Jin Saowun looked up at the archer on the cliff. Finally, the top two.
I thought you had died by Senturk's sword, but it turns out that was just an illusion.
Jin Saowun looked directly at the archer, his face bloody but resolute. Stop talking nonsense, Zurokana. Just come at me. Jurakwana smiled scornfully. Why is everyone in such a hurry? It seems that person has something to settle with you before me, doesn't she? Senturk turned his back, his body covered in wounds. This bastard, daring to use such despicable tactics. He gritted his teeth, his anger flaring. Senturk looked down at his shattered armor, his eyes astonished. I definitely saw it pierce through, and this power can shatter the armor of a Carson master. Truly formidable. Jin Saowun stood firm, his body covered in injuries but his eyes burning fiercely. "Stop talking! Come at me! Do you want to fight one by one? Or both at once?" Senturk looked at Jin Siwon, blood trickling down his forehead. "You will regret forcing me to go all out." He gritted his teeth, radiating killing intent. Senruruku roared in pain, fresh blood splattering as he was sent flying. Jin Siwon was astonished, his eyes wide. So fast! In an instant. Senruruku lunged forward, his sword piercing Jin Siwon's body, creating a fierce surge of energy. Senruruku looked down, his eyes full of confidence. "I, Senruruku, am confident that I will not lose to anyone in terms of speed." He explained the insidious attack, aimed at Jin Siwon's ligaments. Jin Siwon was stunned, realizing he had underestimated his opponent. Despite being severely wounded, Jin Siwon gritted his teeth, refusing to fall. "I can't lose like this. How could I have come this far?" A surge of energy erupted from Jin Siwon's hand. He was determined. "No, it's still too early to give up. I will trust my inner power." Senruruku was terrified, cold sweat running down his face. "What? How dare you, my sword?" Senruruku's sword shattered, fragments scattering. Jin Siwon had destroyed his weapon with inner power. Jin Siwon unleashed a powerful black annihilation hand strike, sending Senruruku flying. Senruruku clutched his face, blood streaming down, his eyes filled with rage. "How dare you injure my face?" Jin Siwon stood firm, despite his body being covered in wounds, his aura still soaring. Senruruku looked at Jin Siwon, his voice cold. "You're still trying to resist to the very end, huh?" He drew his sword, activating a brilliant sword chi, ready for the decisive blow. Senruruku acknowledged Jin Siwon's strength. "To make me use sword chi, I suppose I have to acknowledge you." Jin Siwon gasped for breath, his body exhausted but his eyes still resolute. "Phew! I guess I can use it to this extent." Jin Siwon unleashed spirit phantom steps, his figure becoming illusory, darting like the wind, leaving dazzling streaks of light. Jin Siwon unleashed his full inner power, a multitude of phantoms attacking simultaneously, forming a fierce, swirling storm. Senruruku stood firm amidst the dissipating phantoms, stating coldly, "You truly have some troublesome tricks." Senruruku declared coldly, "But the victor is always me." He warned Jin Siwon, "Now it's for real. You'd better prepare yourself, you useless trash." From a distant cliff, the long-haired, white-haired man watched, muttering, "Someone just win and end this quickly." The long-haired, white-haired man yawned in boredom. While the system announced only 3 survivors remain, Jin Siwon gathered all his strength, clasped his hands together, declaring, "From now on, I will truly face you." Senruruku raised his sword, blood still on his face, urging, "Stop blabbering, attack, Jin Siwon." Senruruku thought to himself, his sword chi only lasted 2 minutes. He had to end the battle. The maximum duration of sword chi is 2 minutes. I must finish within that time. Jin Siwon was also exhausted, telling himself this was the final blow. "My inner power is almost depleted. This must be the end." Senruruku charged forward with terrifying speed, like a lightning bolt tearing through the wind, determined to end the battle. Jin Siwon did not flinch, also charged in resolutely. "Here I come." Senruruku's sword chi tore through the wind, piercing through a phantom of Jin Siwon, but missing the real target. Suddenly, the real Jin Siwon appeared behind Senruruku, delivering a fatal blow to his back. Senruruku was sent flying, blood gushing from his mouth. He roared, "You cunning bastard!" Senruruku realized in shock. "Damn it! I don't feel anything in my hand. Was that a clone?" he thought to himself. "If so," Senruruku growled, blood still on his face, declaring coldly, "Whether it's the real body or a clone, I will cut them all to pieces." With blazing sword chi, Senruruku charged into the attack like a whirlwind, determined to crush everything in his path. Senruruku pierced through a phantom, but the real Jin Siwon unexpectedly appeared behind him, delivering a fatal blow that made him bleed. Blood splattered. Senruruku realized in astonishment. So that was the real body. He couldn't believe he had been tricked. Jin Siwon, though exhausted and full of injuries, still asked proudly, "How was it, the taste of a loach's punch?" Senruruku was still dazed, while Jin Siwon continued to provoke. "Oh, and by the way, you should stop looking for the real body," Jin Siwon explained. "All phantoms of spirit phantom steps can attack like the real body. You can't distinguish them." A phantom of Jin Siwon delivered a powerful kick, sending Senruruku flying into the air, blood splattering. Senruruku was sent flying, his entire body aching, while Jin Siwon's illusions reappeared, surrounding him. Senruruku roared, activating his piercing sword aura, unleashing a fierce counterattack, trying to break through the encirclement. Senruku's sword aura tore through the air, slashing at the illusions, but they continued to attack relentlessly, exhausting. Though weary, Senruku fought resiliently, his sword aura shining brightly. But despair began to creep in. Senruku realized something. The stamina of these clones is truly terrible. He began to find an opening. 3 of Jin Sewun's illusions stood firm, despite being covered in injuries, still holding their ground. There were still 5 more illusions. Jin Sewun seemed to be saying, "Only 5 more left." Senruku gritted his teeth, angrily realizing, damn it, only about a minute left. Time was against him. Jirokwana, the divine archer, stood on a cold cliff, looking down at a group of burly monsters and a green-skinned creature, dagger in hand, facing a warrior. Jirokwana's face clearly showed worry. He hadn't expected Senruku to struggle so much in battle. Senruku roared. Blood splattered all over him, desperately calling for Jirokwana's help.
Jirokwana! Don't just stand there, help me!
If you help me win, I'll reward you with anything when we return. Jirokwana looked up, his eyes surprised, and quickly warned,
Hey, watch out ahead!
But it was too late. Senruku struck a powerful blow down on one of Jin Sewun's illusions, blood splattering. Senruku unleashed the powerful shockwave aura technique, believing he had finished off his opponent. Jin Sewun, his body covered in wounds, launched a segmented fist counterattack with all his remaining strength. A blazing red energy burst forth, engulfing Senruku, forcing him to take the direct hit. Senruku painfully blocked the attack with his arm, his face contorted in surprise and intense pain. Jin Sewun lay writhing on the ground, covered in blood, wondering in astonishment. Damn it, that attack was blocked? Senruku lunged forward with a cruel, victorious smile. Got you, Jin Sewun. He delivered a fatal blow, piercing Jin Sewun's body, blood splattering into the air. Jin Sewun let out a cry of pain, blood gushing from his mouth and the fatal wound on his chest. But then, Jin Sewun's body began to vanish like smoke, revealing it was just another illusion. Senruku stood amidst the vanishing illusions, his face utterly astonished. This was also a clone? He gritted his teeth, his eyes bloodshot with rage, realizing he had been blatantly tricked by Jin Sewun. You're really toying with me. Jin Sewun, covered in blood, gave a faint smile. How embarrassing. Was he accepting his weakness? Or mocking his enemy? Senruku roared, fury blazing in his eyes.
I don't care about winning or losing anymore. I'll use all my strength to tear you apart, Jin Sewun, limb from limb.
From afar, Jirokwana watched, his eyes filled with worry. Could it be that the Mad Emperor is being revived? An ominous sign. Senruku glowed, charging between 2 of Jin Sewun's illusions. Dodge if you can, he challenged, confident in his speed. A dazzling flash of light tore through space. Senruku was like a whirlwind, sweeping across the battlefield relentlessly. Jin Sewun's illusions shattered into pieces, blood splattered. Senruku still stood firm, unwavering. Senruku panted, his eyes sharp. Only 2 left. The true body or a clone. Only one of the 2. He believed he was close to his goal. Suddenly, one of Jin Sewun's illusions appeared behind Senruku, launching a counterattack. My turn. Senruku was hit, his face changing color in astonishment. Straight punch SK. The sudden attack stunned him. 2 of Jin Sewun's illusions attacked simultaneously, one wielding a dazzling sword. Come on! Senruku was cornered. Senruku retreated, clutching his wound. Good. This attack had an effect. He realized it was still just an illusion. Jin Sewun's illusion vanished into specks of light, confirming Senruku's suspicion. Senruku clenched the empty air, his eyes discerning. Since I felt nothing in my hand, you are also a clone. Senruku swung his sword aura blazing. Is only the true body left? He searched for the real Jin Sewun amidst the illusory mist. Senruku and Jin Sewun faced each other from a distance, the atmosphere tense. The battle was nearing its end. Senruku looked straight ahead, his eyes resolute. With this one blow, I will end everything. He poured all his will into the final strike. Jin Sewun was exhausted, blood stained all over him, but his eyes still burned with determination. Amidst the dark night, Jin Sewun and Senruku charged at each other, their speed tearing through the wind. The 2 warriors clashed fiercely, sword energy exploding, dazzling light tearing through the darkness. Blood stained the corner of Senruku's mouth, but he still wore an arrogant smile. You're quite good fighting barehanded. Senruku's face contorted. Let's see if you can block this attack. Sword energy, thunder form. Senruku's hand suddenly glowed brightly, thunder energy surging violently. A dazzling bolt of lightning shot out, piercing straight into Jin Sewun, making his body tremble. Jin Sewun's body was hit. His armor cracked, but it was merely a vanishing illusion. The real Jin Sewun roared in pain, fresh blood gushing from his mouth. Senruruku turned his head, his face a mix of surprise and fury. He had just been ambushed from behind. Jin Sewun's fatal punch landed directly on Senruruku's back, sending him flying. From afar, the divine archer watched the battle, exclaiming worriedly,
Wait! If this happens, only Jurokwana will benefit!
Senruruku was hit again, fresh blood splattering as he collapsed. Senruruku's blood-stained hand, still glowing with thunder sword energy, tightly gripped the broken sword hilt. The broken sword hilt in Senruruku's hand was now enveloped by a powerful blue sword energy. Senruruku stood tall over Jin Sewun's illusion, his body battered but still sneering.
I just managed to finish it while the sword energy was still active.
Senruruku, covered in blood, gasped for breath, muttering to himself, "If I had been just a little slower, I would have been finished." He looked down at the broken sword hilt in his hand, still stained with blood, feeling something very strange. Senruruku's back stood rigid. He still didn't understand what was happening. Senruruku's face was filled with astonishment as he wondered, "Why do I not feel any impact in my hand?" A sound echoed. Senruruku's eyes widened, his face contorted in shock as he realized the truth. From behind, Jin Sewun suddenly appeared, delivering a fatal blow that sent Senruruku flying amidst a spray of blood. Jin Sewun stood there, his body covered in wounds, but still resilient. He thought to himself, if I hadn't exhausted his stamina with clones, I would have been in big trouble. From afar, Jurokwana, the divine archer, gave a knowing smile. He hadn't expected Jin Sewun to be able to defeat Senruruku. Jin Sewun looked up and called Jurokwana's name, while the divine archer coldly said, "I think I should thank you. He truly was a nuisance." Jurokwana drew his bow, beginning a long speech about how Senruruku had poured all his strength into this battle. He ended his words with a sinister smile. "You will die by my hand, Jurokwana. I will personally honor your battle." An arrow tore through the wind, carrying a powerful blue energy stream, aimed directly at Jin Sewun. Jin Sewun was hit, his face contorted in extreme pain, blood splattering everywhere. Despite being heavily wounded, Jin Sewun stood firm. A green life force began to envelop him. He thought to himself, "It's not as good as Nam Sagwang's, but this is definitely a massive amount of life force." With this much, green energy erupted from Jin Sewun's hand, covering his body. Jin Sewun clenched his fist, his eyes resolute. "I can face Jurokwana." Jin Sewun's body was covered in blood, but his eyes still blazed, his tenacious will erupting in the dark night. He was ready for the final battle. A blue light tore through the darkness. Jin Sewun shot forward like an arrow with terrifying speed. Each of Jin Sewun's steps seemed to tear through space. Limitless steps. Countless illusions of Jin Sewun attacked simultaneously, forming an incessant storm of punches and kicks. Jurokwana frowned, his eyes sharp and cold. That annoying clone technique has appeared again. A sinister, confident smile spread across Jurokwana's lips. He drew his bow, and a deep blue energy arrow tore through the wind, creating a powerful shockwave. The arrow pierced through one of Jin Sewun's illusions, causing it to vanish in a streak of red blood. Jin Sewun's illusions were destroyed one by one, revealing him in mid-air. Jin Sewun's figure fell, dissolving into streaks of dark energy. Jurokwana turned around, as if having anticipated the opponent's true location. Jurokwana aimed his bow at the collapsed Jin Sewun.
"I'll make sure he can't escape!"
Jin Sewun roared.
"No!"
Jurokwana's arrow pierced straight into Jin Sewun's hand, fresh blood splattering. He roared in agony. The arrow was deeply embedded in his hand. Jin Sewun's face contorted in extreme pain. Despite being severely wounded, Jin Sewun still roared.
"How could you find my true body so quickly?"
Jurokwana merely smiled, his eyes full of smug satisfaction. "That's," Jurokwana coldly replied, "it was just a hunch." Jin Sewun lay collapsed in a pool of blood, his body pierced by vicious arrows. Jin Sewun looked up in astonishment, exclaiming in pain.
"What?"
Jurokwana calmly said, "You tried very hard to get here." "I respect your efforts," Jurokwana said. But Jin Sewun roared in rage. "Respect what?
"Throw it to the dogs!"
Jin Sewun's eyes were filled with despair, red blood staining his vision. His body slowly sank into endless darkness. An invisible force struck down, pushing Jin Sewun into the abyss of destruction. His vision shattered, vanishing. The final arrow pierced straight into Jin Sewun's head. System notification. Jurokwana is greater than Jin Sewun, defeated by arrow. Jurokwana stood looking at Jin Sewun's blood-soaked body, then pondered to himself, Is it over?" The surrounding world faded, leaving only black and white. A mysterious wooden chest appeared beside Jin Siwon's corpse. The game screen flickered repeatedly, like a signal of the end. Jurquana still stood there, silently watching the chest. System notification. Survival Cloyd has ended. Jin Siwon woke up, grumbling irritably. Damn it. I messed everything up. Jin Siwon sighed. Of course, I got to eat the meal Nam Sagwang prepared, but the system congratulated him for making it to the top 2. The system continued. You have qualified to participate in the next game. Jin Siwon was surprised. There's a next game? The system displayed. Including hill bonus points, you have earned 140 bonus coins. Jin Siwon was surprised. Coins? Collected items appeared. Cameron's necklace, 3 coins. Power ring, 20 coins. Carmen's eye magic book, 50 coins. I picked up a lot of stuff. The system allowed exchanging items with bonus coins. Jin Siwon saw spirit illusion steps priced at 130 coins, exclaiming in shock. Why is it so expensive? If I get this, I'll use almost all my coins. System notification. The last 5 players are granted a chance to spin the roulette and draw items. Jin Siwon was surprised. Oh? There's gacha? The system announced Jin Seoyun came in second, granting Jin Seoyun 2 spins. He calculated that if he was lucky enough to get an invisibility cloak or spirit illusion steps, he would save a good amount of coins. Jin Siwon flashed a calculating smile, his eyes gleaming with ambition. He thought to himself, if luck smiled upon him, this would be a great bargain. Dazzling light erupted, and at the same time, the system displayed the item name, Spirit Illusion Steps. Jin Siwon looked up at the item that had just appeared, a glowing gift box floating in midair. He had successfully drawn Spirit Illusion Steps. Jin Siwon suddenly shouted loudly, reaching out his hand as if to grasp something. His face was full of panic and regret. Beads of sweat dotted Jin Siwon's forehead. His eyes were wide open, revealing extreme anxiety as he looked up. Another item appeared in the dazzling light. System notification, Asgro's necklace. Jin Siwon clutched his head in disappointment, yelling in frustration. Damn it! Why is it the cheapest thing? How many times have I drawn already? Why did I get this? Jin Siwon gritted his teeth, his eyes blazing with anger mixed with determination. He told himself, no, I still have one more chance. Jin Siwon clasped his hands in prayer, earnestly pleading with the supreme beings to grant him a bit of luck. Jin Siwon's desperate scream echoed as he yelled in despair. Light erupted again, and a notification in Korean appeared. It was Lee Gang's ring. Jin Seowon's eyes were wide open, his pupils dilated, a tear about to fall. He was frozen in extreme horror. Dazzling light continued to appear, and another notification in Korean popped up. Mega's helmet. Jin Seowon's eyes were still wide open, reflecting extreme disappointment. He was like turned to stone, unable to believe his bad luck. Jin Seowon stood with his back turned, looking up at the words Spirit Illusion Steps appearing once again. He was completely speechless. Jin Seowon was surprised when Spirit Illusion Steps reappeared. An array of hope flickered. His disappointment vanished, and Jin Seowon burst into joy, clenching his fists. Amazing! This is the most valuable thing I've obtained. It almost doubled my coin count. A new notification appeared, and a purple magic book floated before Jin Seowon, containing the items he had acquired. The system allowed purchasing items with coins. Jin Seowon flashed a calculating smile, ready for a shopping spree. So, shall I start shopping now? Thanks to Spirit Illusion Steps, Jin Seowon saved quite a few coins, but too many attractive items made it difficult for him to choose. Unable to hesitate any longer, Jin Seowon had to compromise and completed his shopping. The system wished him good luck in the next game. A dazzling burst of light erupted, enveloping Jin Seowon, signaling the end of the trial. The light gradually faded, revealing the familiar scene of a city street, as if he had never left. Jin Seowon stood in the middle of the familiar street, his eyes wide with surprise. What? I'm back? He looked down at his hand, his face filled with horror, as if he had just witnessed something unbelievable. The ring sparkled on his finger, an unmistakable item. This ring is definitely the spatial ring brought back from the dead-end survival. The spatial ring, a vivid proof of his recent adventure, rested neatly in his palm. Tears streamed down his cheeks, and Jin Seowon whispered, realizing it wasn't a dream. This isn't a dream. His backpack lay undisturbed on the ground, a sign of his return to the real world. He bent down, picked up his backpack, ready to face a new life. The first game had ended. Jin Seowon walked away. Outwardly, everything seemed unchanged, but he was different inside. Jin Seowon wore a knowing smile, shimmering light surrounding him. He felt a great transformation beginning, promising a future full of surprises. Amidst the bustling street, Jin Seowon stood, his face full of confidence. Now, mundane worries, like the TOEIC exam, were no longer his concern. Jin Se-woon's gaze fell upon the sparkling ring on his finger. He could still clearly hear its whisper, a promise of things to come. The spatial ring with its purple gem held a secret. A notification appeared. Spatial ring, 30 coins, and the resounding affirmation, there will be a next game. Jin Se-woon turned and walked away, his gaze resolute. He told himself, I need to go back and prepare for the second game. This time, I only came in second, which is bad, but clenching his fists, Jin Se-woon vowed, I will definitely win the next game. Determination blazed in his eyes. He was ready for a new battle. The small apartment his parents rented near the school was originally for him to prepare for university and study for the TOEIC. But now, all plans had completely changed. Jin Se-woon entered the apartment, his mind focused on a single goal, how to become stronger with what he had brought back from the game. Setting his backpack down, Jin Se-woon was determined. In the second game, he would no longer run from his weak position as he did the first time. He would face it and fight. Meditating, Jin Se-woon felt his dantian empty. He wondered, unlike in the game, I feel my dantian is empty. Did I use up all my inner energy in the last battle? Jin Se-woon's face was full of thought. He muttered, I can't kill people here, so I can practice as much as I want. I should at least practice chukki, as the old man said, to fill it up a bit. In his memory, Jang Oh-cheon explained to Jin Se-woon how to accumulate inner energy through chukki. The old man said that if one focused on the dantian, inner energy would naturally converge. Although not as effective as the white dance martial art, consistent chukki practice would lead to great mastery. Young Jin Se-woon, his face smudged, looked up at Jang Oh-cheon. He asked, so, if I just practice, can I become as strong as the old man? Jang Oh-cheon burst into hearty laughter, looking down at Jin Se-woon. He said, I sensed it yesterday, but you're quite audacious. Like a sparrow trying to follow a stork, you might split your crotch, but Jang Oh-cheon's face grew serious. He mused. He won't know. Will you be a useless sparrow? Jin Se-woon meditated, his eyes closed, surrounded by blue energy. The old man's words echoed, or a young stork. He was on the path to shaping his destiny. 4 hours passed, and Jin Se-woon remained immersed in meditation, dark energy swirling around him. He let out a long, heavy breath. Jin Se-woon frowned, beads of sweat on his forehead. He irritably wondered, why is it taking so long? And why is the accumulated inner energy so meager? Jin Se-woon's eyes widened, filled with horror and anger. He gritted his teeth, and a curse word escaped him. He stood up, a dazed expression on his face. It's so different from in the game. At this rate, it'll take years to accumulate enough. Instead of digging himself a deeper hole, Jin Se-woon decided to change tactics. He took out a glowing purple item from his spatial ring. I should reorganize the items I brought with. He examined a martial arts book titled Iron Fist No Merit. Jin Se-woon sighed. I wish there were more useful martial arts than this. Jin Se-woon worried. Would he have to learn little by little through practice, just like accumulating inner energy? If so, becoming strong quickly is impossible. Suddenly, a game interface appeared before his eyes, asking, do you want to learn? Yes. No. Jin Se-woon was astonished. He couldn't believe his eyes. Wait, does the game system apply to reality too? The dazzling sunlight shone down on the tall buildings, signaling a new day. Jin Se-woon threw a powerful punch, the air around him vibrating with each movement. Then, he spun around and delivered a mighty kick, creating streams of blue energy. He had learned martial arts, but its power was on a completely different level compared to when his inner energy was full. He reached into his spatial ring again, wondering what else could be useful. What else is there? He pulled out a golden necklace with a letter-shaped pendant. The system displayed, Escrow's necklace, 1 coin. He remembered. Ah, so I won this in the lottery. He bit the necklace, a surprised look on his face. I remember hearing this was pure gold. Is it really pure gold? Jin Se-woon stared at the necklace in astonishment. At this weight, it must be worth tens of millions of won. Yet in the game, it was only 1 coin? A thought flashed, and Jin Se-woon felt surrounded by money. If he could bring 10 necklaces from the game, he would have hundreds of millions of won. Jin Se-woon held the refined troll's blood vial, realizing how different the value of in-game items was from real life. A useless item in the game, yet it has a different value here. This vial of troll's blood, something that could grant a year of healthy life. Just hearing that was attractive enough for Jin Se-woon to want to bring it back. With a cunning glint in his eye, Jin Se-woon calculated, sell it to the wealthy on the verge of death, and they would pay any price. Standing in the room, Jin Se-woon stared at the vial of troll's blood, realizing that Cloyd's survival was truly an unimaginable opportunity. Jin Se-woon pondered, recalling that in the game he only ate dried meat, Absorbed in cultivating his inner energy, he didn't even realize he was hungry. He stood up and looked out the window. Perhaps it was time to go out and find something to fill his stomach. Stepping into Grandma's restaurant, Jin Se-woon ordered a meal. A 5,001 meal, the only luxury he allowed himself. It was what he craved most after gnawing on tough dried meat in the game. Tears streamed down Jin Se-woon's face as he ate the white rice. How long has it been since I've had white rice? That tough dried meat in the game almost killed me. The old restaurant owner looked at Jin Se-woon crying, both scolding and comforting him. That kid was normal yesterday. What crazy stunt is he pulling now? Don't cry, you'll lose all your luck. You're a man. Jin Se-woon wiped his tears, forcing a smile. It's so delicious, Grandma. Thank you, the old woman replied. Don't play games, finish your bowl. If it's not enough, tell me. Jin Se-woon sighed, realizing that time in the game did not reflect reality at all. Leaving the restaurant, Jin Se-woon said, I ate very well, Grandma. The old woman replied, All right, stop whining, come again next time. Walking down the street, Jin Se-woon pondered, when does the next game start? I need to accumulate inner energy before then. Jin Se-woon walked down the street, suddenly remembering something important, a mysterious item he had brought with him. Ah, that's right, I brought that too. He put on the Ring of Power from the game, wondering if its abilities would manifest in real life. Ring of Power, 20 coins. Do the stats apply exactly the same in real life? A surge of power erupted, astonishing Jin Se-woon. Oh! His body was suddenly lifted, a powerful stream of energy gushing from the ring. He shot up into the air, soaring past tall buildings, his new power breaking all limits. Oh, damn it! My body is overflowing with power! Jin Se-woon exclaimed in horror, feeling the surging energy. He glided through the air, light as a feather, his astonishing speed blurring everything. He landed on the street, quickly looking around. No one saw, right? It would be a huge hassle if it got recorded and posted online. Looking at the skyscrapers, he mused. If everything from the game applies exactly the same to this extent. In the room, Jin Se-woon mused. I originally intended to accumulate inner energy before using it. He looked at the purple energy in his hand, then decided. But perhaps it's better to use it now. He held the most expensive elixir of inner sight vial, something he had brought from the game. Elixir of inner sight, 50 coins. The most expensive item I brought. His face showed worry. In the game, I couldn't move for 3 hours. My insides felt like they were burning. Despite knowing the side effects, he resolutely brought the vial to his mouth and swallowed it all. A terrifying sensation washed over him, his eyes wide with intense pain. Jin Se-woon's body convulsed violently. A burst of green light enveloped him, and the empty vial rolled on the floor. The empty potion bottle rolled on the floor, its purple liquid spilled, the last trace of the recent upheaval. 3 hours later, the silence was broken by a complaint. No, I'm serious. The wall is burning hot. The complaints continued, the wall too hot to touch. I tried knocking on my neighbor's door, but it was so hot I couldn't grab the doorknob. If it's that hot, you should call 911, not the police. The old woman remained insistent, but the police seemed indifferent. No, it's hot, but it doesn't look like there's a fire. Then just leave it. Maybe they turned the heater up too high. The old woman still insisted. Her face wrinkled. No, I'm serious, it's not just that. The police officer sighed, reluctantly agreeing. All right, fine. A police officer's hand touched the doorknob, and a red spark flashed. The police officer flinched back, his hand burning. Damn it, what the hell is this? It's incredibly hot. The old woman was triumphant. See? I told you it was strange. The police officers began calling inside, their voices echoing. Is anyone in there? We're the police. Are you all right? We received a complaint. Please open the door. The police officer, worried, continued to call out. If you're inside, please answer. We're here to help. The door slowly creaked open, revealing a small gap. The 3 people looked inside in surprise. Who are you? The police officer explained. Ah, we received a report of a possible fire. Jin Se-woon appeared, drenched in sweat, trying to conceal his condition. I just have a slight fever. He continued to make excuses, his tone slightly annoyed. I just turned the heater up a bit too high. And if there was a fire, 911 should be here. What are the police doing? The police officer explained the procedure, then offered help. Ah, if we receive a complaint, we usually have to respond and check. Should I call an ambulance for you? Jin Se-woon refused, saying he only had a cold. The police accepted, preparing to leave. They turned to the old woman, reminding her, Ma'am, calling us for such a minor matter puts us in an awkward position. The door closed, and Jin Se-woon breathed a sigh of relief. Jin Se-woon collapsed to the floor, exhausted and drenched in sweat. He cursed under his breath. Damn it. I almost died. The spiritual medicine's energy flared up like fire. Without the White Crane banquet spell, I wouldn't have been able to control it. Jin Se-woon's face still bore traces of pain as he mused. It seems using items in reality always carries risks, unlike in game. Nevertheless, Jin Se-woon's eyes gleamed with determination as he looked at his hand, where a stream of white energy began to swirl. He tensed, energy erupting around his body, preparing to unleash an earth-shattering technique. Shadowless Fist. A terrifying surge of power erupted from Jin Se-woon, shattering everything around him. Myriad defeat palm. Looking at the ruined room, the shattered chair, Jin Se-woon sighed. After selling all the items I brought back, the first thing I need to do is buy a new chair. The next day, bright morning sunlight shone on the park, where outdoor exercise equipment was located. Jin Se-woon hung upside down on the pull-up bar, contemplating. To train the ironless fist to a higher level, I probably need to combine it with physical training. Finding a place to practice here during the day with so many people is really troublesome. He decided, perhaps I'll have to wait until sunset to train. Suddenly, Jin Se-woon's eyes widened, and he exclaimed in surprise, "Huh?" A group of high school students entered the park. The brown-haired girl asked, "Dongjun, Minsik Oppa really want to see me?" The short-haired boy replied curtly, "Yeah, stop asking, you idiot." A silver-haired old man approached, reminding them, "Hey kids, smoking is prohibited in this mountain area," the old man continued to advise. "Besides, it's not right for students to smoke, is it?" The short-haired boy defiantly replied. "My parents don't even say anything. Who are you to be so nosy?" The old man sternly looked directly at the boy. "Then that's a failure of education." The short-haired boy grew angry, his face changing color. "What did you say? What the hell is this damn old man talking about?" Jin Se-woon still hung on the bar, observing the situation, feeling uneasy. "I have a bad feeling about this." Dongjun snarled, vulgar words aimed directly at the old man. "You damn old man! You really have a venomous tongue. Do you want to die?" A sudden punch landed squarely on Dongjun's face, sending his cigarette flying and leaving him stunned. The punch was so powerful it cracked the ground, and Dongjun collapsed. A bald man stood towering. Jin Se-woon still hovered on the bar, witnessing the scene. Jin Se-woon looked down and spoke. "Hey, no matter how rude he was, you shouldn't attack an elderly person like that." The two other students were stunned. The brown-haired girl exclaimed, "Oh my God!" The brown-haired boy anxiously called out, "Min Se-kyung." The bald man looked at Jin Se-woon and spoke. "Hey, you messy-haired guy." He continued with a cold expression. "It seems we haven't met before." His eyes were sharp and cold, his question filled with killing intent. "Do you want to die?" Jin Se-woon broke out in a cold sweat, muttering, "It seems things are about to get really troublesome." Dongjun lay sprawled, blood on his face, trying to gasp. "Ah, you're the one who did this to," the bald man calmly continued, as if he had anticipated it. "My brother?" The bald man explained, claiming Dongjun had started it. He said, "Your brother doesn't even know how to respect his elders. He attacked an old man." He continued to lecture. "Don't high school students know that smoking in public will bring trouble upon themselves?" Jin Se-woon smiled and said, "If you're his brother, you should teach your sibling properly. I might be a bit excessive, but I couldn't hold back." His smile vanished. Jin Se-woon's eyes flashed blue, and energy erupted around him. The bald man suddenly lunged to attack, but Jin Se-woon managed to block the blow in time. Jin Se-woon's gaze was sharp, blue energy exploding around his fist. He roared, "Void Sphere, direct fist," preparing to unleash a decisive blow. A terrifying surge of power from Jin Se-woon shot straight into the bald man, sending him flying far amidst a cloud of red smoke. The bald man collapsed, blood gushing. Jin Se-woon was stunned. "Ah, I couldn't control my power." The bald man groaned. "Damn it, what the hell is this guy doing?" Jin Se-woon stared at his hand, his face full of confusion. "Huh?" A hand deftly spun a butterfly knife, preparing for a surprise attack. Dongjun was furious, clutching the butterfly knife. He snarled, "Where did this bastard come from? You disgusting piece of shit, I'll kill you!" Jin Se-woon smirked, his eyes full of disdain. He scoffed, "Ha ha! Like brother. Like brother. Truly absurd." Dongjun lunged, the knife flashing with killing intent. He screamed, "Die!" determined to finish Jin Se-woon. Jin Se-woon easily parried the attack, feeling his power surge. He thought to himself, "The more I face them, the clearer it becomes. Now, dealing with these ordinary people is too easy." Dongjun was sent flying into the air, the knife knocked from his hand. Jin Se-woon remained standing, composed. Jin Se-woon looked straight ahead, his eyes glowing blue. He reminded himself, "You need to control your power, Jin Se-woon. If anything goes wrong, it'll be big trouble." Only 50%! Jin Se-woon unleashed a palm strike, a wave of blue energy sweeping through. Myriad palm, 50%. he whispered, terrifying power erupting. Dongjun lay sprawled on the ground, blood gushing, his eyes wide with pain. He let out a groan. Gah! Dongjun was violently thrown back, crashing into a large tree trunk, creating a deep dent. Dongjun lay unconscious by the tree, other students filming in horror. Jin Siwon stood silent, realizing the consequences. Jin Siwon flinched, quickly reaching out his hand. He muttered, "Ah, damn it, this isn't right." Jin Siwon forced a laugh, denying the seriousness of the situation. He mumbled that Dongjun was just acting, overreacting. Jin Siwon stood tall over the bald man's motionless body, beginning to speak. Well then, from now on, he continued to lecture, telling Dongjun to respect elders, quit smoking, and not carry knives. His words were full of self-satisfaction. Jin Siwon ran away, leaving Dongjun and the bald man motionless. The other students panicked, fearing Dongjun was dead. As he ran, Jin Siwon blamed himself for showing off his power to ordinary people. Fear washed over him. Jin Siwon realizing the immeasurable consequences if someone lost their life. His life would be over. Although the power from the game was easily obtained, Jin Siwon understood that arduous training was needed to truly master it. He flew through the forest, trying to escape the scene and his chaotic thoughts. Time passed, and the city scenery gradually returned to its usual peaceful state. A month later, life went on. But had anything changed? Jin Siwon meditated, mystical blue energy surrounding him, showing that he had been training ceaselessly. Suddenly, Jin Siwon opened his eyes, his face surprised, as if he had just realized something. A hand reached for the phone on the table, its ringtone breaking the silence. Jin Siwon turned, holding the phone. His mother's voice rang out, asking, "Son, have you eaten yet?" He replied, "Yes, I have." His mother was worried because she couldn't reach him, asking about the situation, fearing he was injured. Jin Siwon listened to the call, his expression pensive. Jin Siwon's mother stood in front of the hospital, asking about his new academy, wondering if it was all right. Jin Siwon reassured his mother that he was fine, but his heart was heavy because he couldn't tell her the truth about his martial arts training. He asked about his father, but his mother's voice faltered, signaling that something was wrong. Jin Siwon's mother painfully broke the news that his father had been in a traffic accident, leaving him stunned. Jin Siwon screamed in horror as his mother recounted that his father had been hit by a car while making a delivery. Jin Siwon's mother worried that the surgery costs were too high, and even with insurance, it wouldn't be enough. Jin Siwon's mother hesitantly asked if he still had money, as she couldn't send any more allowance. Jin Siwon clenched his spatial ring, his voice dropping as he asked for the total cost of the surgery. 2 million won. That number felt like a heavy burden on Jin Siwon's shoulders, plunging him into deep thought. Jin Siwon reassured his mother, promising to find a solution, even though she still blamed herself for bothering him. He quickly ended the call, the anxiety about his family weighing heavily on his heart. Jin Siwon recalled his parents' difficult life, always having to move between rented homes. His father had worked tirelessly his whole life, but age caused his income to steadily decline. His father's job was easily replaceable, so he frequently had to change workplaces. He considered himself a useless freeloader, with no future, no hope. But now, everything would have to change. A steely resolve was clear in his eyes. Jin Siwon entered the building, carrying a new burden, a new hope. Jin Siwon presented an antique pendant, his eyes full of anticipation. He needed money, and this item was his only hope. The woman with the haibon appraised the item, recognizing its rare craftsmanship. Jin Siwon explained it was a 5-generation family heirloom. The employee confirmed the item was ancient. Jin Siwon impatiently asked for the price. Every second was precious to him. The employee hesitated, knowing the item's true value far exceeded gold. But Jin Siwon, with his worry about his father's surgery, had no other choice. The urgent circumstances forced Jin Siwon to sell. The employee asked about a certificate, a detail that could greatly affect the value. Blinding light streamed in from outside, like a reminder of the cruel world beyond. The door closed behind Jin Siwon, carrying the employee's parting words. A transaction was complete. He looked at the money in his account, an amount sufficient to support his parents and himself for a while. The employee's smile made Jin Siwon briefly doubt the item's true value, but he had no other choice. He told himself he needed to find a better way to handle the items acquired from the other world. The top priority was to send money to his mother. Jin Siwon walked along the night street, the lights twinkling. Jin Siwon called to deliver the news. On the other end, his mother was startled by the large sum of money he had sent. His mother worriedly asked if he had taken out a high-interest loan, not daring to accept the money she feared. Jin Siwon reassured his mother, explaining it was money from part-time work and savings from his military service. He felt his parents' pain. He promised to visit the hospital, reassuring his mother. The call ended with heartfelt thanks. Jin Siwon boarded the subway, his gaze distant as he looked out the window, contemplating the future. Jin Siwon stood amidst the crowd on the subway, his eyes unfocused as he looked out the window, lost in his own thoughts. Suddenly, a voice rang out, catching Jin Siwon's attention. "Hey, this is totally fake, right?" Two men were excitedly discussing a video on a phone. "It clearly looks like computer graphics. Do people actually believe it?" "Yeah, but it's so amazing. It looks like it was secretly filmed." The phone screen showed a man in a forest casting fire magic. "Eskdon! Fire!" Jin Siwon's eyes widened, a sense of shock rising within him as he witnessed the scene. An ordinary person wouldn't understand, but Jin Siwon recognized it immediately. That was magic learned from Cloyd survival, a chillingly familiar skill. A wave of shock hit him. Jin Siwon realized a terrifying truth. "I'm not the only one in this country who has experienced Cloyd survival." The two men continued. "What? The video was deleted again? That's weird. It keeps getting uploaded and then deleted. How strange. He looks like a madman." Jin Siwon gazed out thoughtfully, unable to imagine how the existence of others with similar powers would affect him. At the same time, a landline phone rang. On the other end, a deep voice replied, "Yes, I will fix it." A man with slicked-back silver hair was on the phone, his tone filled with anger. "I'll fix it, even if I have to cut off internet access here." The silver-haired man, surrounded by black-suited bodyguards, bowed his head in apology over the phone. "I am truly sorry. I will handle it quickly." A powerful hand slammed the phone down, ending the call amidst tension. The silver-haired man sat opposite his subordinate, his expression heavy. They said the one who uploaded the video this time is definitely Korean. What happened?" A hand slammed hard on the table, showing the frustration and pressure weighing heavily. The silver-haired man's face contorted in rage. "Why are so many new guys appearing, yet our organization's numbers aren't increasing at all?" The silver-haired man roared his command. "Go capture all those attention-seeking freaks." The injured red-brown-haired man trembled as he replied, "Yes, understood." He gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with murderous intent. "Stop bleeding. If you get blood on my carpet, I'll kill you." Looking at the injured man being healed, he scoffed. So weak. How can you catch those bastards? As if I don't have enough headaches from those damned Pripyr already." The silver-haired man urged. "If you understand, then act quickly." His subordinates bowed in unison. "Yes, sir. Understood." The summer sun had softened, and the night air grew cool. Jin Siwon dashed through the silent night, his silhouette blending into the trees. 2 months had passed since the first game ended, and Jin Siwon still diligently trained every night, far from prying eyes. The internal energy within him had accumulated significantly, and he was gradually becoming familiar with how to use it. Jin Siwon leaped up, enveloped in blue energy. But the biggest problem still remained. He focused intensely, energy erupting. Soul Step Phantom. Jin Siwon's every step glided like an illusion, incredibly fast. He unleashed a decisive blow, energy exploding. Indestructible fist, spatial strike. With his current internal energy, Jin Siwon could only create one clone. Jin Siwon's face was beaded with sweat. The clone couldn't be maintained for long either. 2 figures simultaneously charged into attack, coordinating seamlessly and powerfully. Jin Siwon gathered his strength, stomping his foot hard on the ground. A final punch, exploding with fiery red power, concluded the training session. Jin Siwon faced his own clone, unleashing powerful punches in the deep blue night. He panted, drenched in sweat, his deep blue eyes reflecting exhaustion after the battle. He collapsed to the ground, utterly spent. "Is this my limit?" Jin Siwon pondered, recalling the battle with Senruruku. He had used too much internal energy. His dantian was now empty. He raised his hand, the ring on his finger glinting as if a reminder of a hidden power. He stood up, resolute. "What's the point of regretting? I'll just go home and accumulate more energy." His stomach rumbling after training, Jin Siwon reached into his spatial bag, wondering what he had brought. A burst of green light erupted from the spatial bag, engulfing Jin Siwon for a moment. He stood stunned amidst the dazzling light, his eyes wide with surprise. Jin Siwon suddenly appeared in the forest, surrounded by strange warriors. "Damn it, where is this? What are you guys doing?" The armored warriors panicked, while Jin Siwon recognized the familiar confusion on their faces. He scanned his surroundings, his expression thoughtful. "A new game has been scheduled after 2 months?" A system notification appeared in the air. "Thank you for participating in Cloyd Survival." A giant stone statue appeared, starting Cloyd Survival tutorial. "Huh? A tutorial?" Jin Siwon frowned, recalling. The previous game skipped this tutorial part. He flashed a mysterious smile. So, this time, there are far more new players than in the previous game. Jin Siwon sat on a rock, his gaze sweeping over the new players. He exclaimed in surprise. "Huh? The man in the gray vest looked at Jin Seowon, secretly speculating. Those clothes? Is he a student? Maybe a high school student? The man in the gray vest stood on the rock peak, realizing something unexpected. Another participant from our country. Besides me, the man in the gray vest's eyes were sharp and full of thought. Jin Seowon stood among the players, his eyes filled with disdain. Tsk. Typical high school kids these days, just looking for attention. Jin Seowon narrowed his eyes, deep in thought. That guy, he clearly has experience. Could it be he's a genius like Nam Sagwang? A system notification rang out, connecting 200 players. Game start. Jin Seowon stood still, waiting. The notification continued. Difficulty: easiest. Rank within the top 200. Map designated as Cantris Valley. Rewards will be distributed differently, starting from rank 20. Tutorial starting. Jin Seowon calculated, his eyes flashing with confidence. If there are 200 participants and I only need to be in the top 200, then there's no risk of being eliminated, right? A sinister smile appeared on Jin Seowon's lips. If there's no danger, then this time I'll definitely play like Lu Bu. After the familiar tutorial explanations, another unexpected notification appeared. A system notification rang out. This game is less than duo. Game is greater than. Jin Seowon was stunned. Huh? Not solo, but duo? The system continued to explain. You can choose a partner you like and send a pairing request. The game continues until only one team survives. If one team member is still alive, both will receive rewards. The final notification. If you don't form a team within 5 minutes, you will play solo. Jin Seowon suddenly understood. No wonder there are more people this time than the last game, so that's why. Jin Seowon watched the players hastily pairing up, his heart full of questions. Everyone here is meeting for the first time. Why are they so willing to request pairing so easily? He pondered, worried. If I choose wrong, a teammate could become a burden. Jin Seowon suddenly remembered the high school student from earlier. That's right, that high school kid. He doesn't look like a rookie at all. Maybe he'll be useful. Jin Seowon looked around in surprise, seeing that everyone had quickly found teammates. Huh? He looked around the giant stone statue, stunned. What? Where's that guy? He already went to find a teammate? How could he be so fast? Jin Seowon was annoyed, wondering if he should just randomly find someone to pair with. Damn it, maybe I should just grab anyone to temporarily pair up with? He tried to strike up a conversation with an armored warrior. Hey, want to team up? But the system reported that this person already had a teammate. Jin Seowon continued to try, but the man in the gray vest also already had a teammate. I want to request a pairing. He stood alone amidst the already formed pairs. Notifications kept appearing. This player has already formed a team. Jin Seowon despaired. Damn it, surely there's someone else who hasn't found a teammate like me, but how do I find them in this crowd? The Cloyd survival game begins. He clenched his fist, his eyes resolute. It's come to this. I have no other choice. Jin Seowon's eyes flashed with cruelty, a half smile full of murderous intent. Duo or solo, I will kill them all and win. A massive surge of energy erupted from the sky, signaling that the first day of the Cloyd survival game had officially begun. Jin Seowon observed the scattered villages in the valley. They seemed like good places to scavenge. This isn't a bad starting point for gathering resources. He roared, giving an order. Descend! Jin Seowon rapidly descended, surrounded by other players. This time, let's secure a position on the ground and deal with the latecomer. His feet touched the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. He smirked, his eyes sharp, ready for the fierce battle for survival. Jin Seowon looked up at the sky, where 6 green streaks of light were descending. He muttered, 2, 3, 6. So that's 3 teams. Jin Seowon shot off like an arrow, soaring past rooftops, heading towards his target. He had rewatched the first match countless times since it ended. He had mentally prepared for the second match in his room many times. Jin Seowon told himself, I've been waiting for this day, so all I have to do is follow the plan. A man in a wide-brimmed hat, holding a magic staff, stumbled through the forest. He complained, How did this happen, really? Oh, I feel so uncomfortable. Jin Seowon suddenly swooped down from above, terrifying the man in the hat. He asked, Ha, where did James land? Jin Seowon unleashed a powerful punch, enveloped in blue light, creating an unbreakable attack. The man in the hat panicked, his face changing color. He yelled, Wait, who are you? Why so sudden? Jin Seowon looked down at his fallen opponent, his gaze cold. He said, 1 down, for now. He continued to throw another punch, energy exploding around him, asserting the power of the unbreakable punch. The second punch landed, creating a bone-crushing blow that left the opponent no time to react. The man in the hood collapsed, blood gushing from his mouth. He coughed violently in pain. A system notification appeared.
Your opponent has been incapacitated. Deliver the finishing blow before their teammates recover. Jin Se-woon frowned. So team battles have a system like this. How annoying. Jin Se-woon stomped hard on his opponent's head, finishing him off mercilessly. Jin Se-woon's gaze was sharp and resolute, ready to face the next challenge. He faced a giant stone statue and a group of armored warriors, his eyes full of vigilance. Jin Se-woon dodged the giant spear from the stone statue, his body tilting in an instant, creating a streak of blue light. He glided past the armored warrior, the stone statue's spear narrowly missing him, a dangerously close attack. Jin Se-woon was wounded, blood smeared on his face, and he gritted his teeth. Damn it. Is that the dead guy's teammate? He touched his hand to the ground, and a wave of green energy spread out, signaling a special skill about to be unleashed. Jin Se-woon knelt, looking around the forest, pondering the power he had just felt. Incredible power. The armored warrior stood tall, facing Jin Se-woon, and asked him, "Are you the one who killed my comrade?" Jin Se-woon silently assessed. Looks like he specializes in close combat. Jin Se-woon smirked, his gaze sharp. He recalled the void hand technique used barehanded, a method for dealing with various weapons. He practiced that technique in his mind, countering bows, spears, and swords. But since it's impossible to practice with such weapons in reality, the technique was only honed through visualization. Jin Se-woon smiled, feeling excited that he could use this technique in the game. The thought of being able to use it in this game truly excites me a little, and I find myself smiling. He touched his hand to the ground, his eyes gleaming with interest. This looks fun. Jin Se-woon flashed a confident smile, his eyes shining brightly, ready for battle. He charged down with terrifying speed, leaving a dazzling blue streak. Attack! His foot hit the ground, creating a small crack, demonstrating the power of his landing. Jin Se-woon launched a powerful counterattack, green energy exploding, decisive and swift as lightning. Counterattack! He glided like a flash of lightning, piercing through enemy ranks, creating dazzling streaks of light. Jin Se-woon grabbed the hooded man's wrist, his eyes resolute, ending the attack. Jin Se-woon delivered a powerful kick, his body spinning in midair, creating a crimson energy surge. He struck a decisive blow against the enemy. Jin Se-woon's gaze was sharp, piercing through the night, his face clearly showing intense determination. He charged forward with terrifying speed. Jin Se-woon's punch landed directly on the armored warrior's armor, creating a powerful shockwave. A crimson light erupted from the point of impact. The armored warrior's eyes widened in astonishment. His face contorted from the blow. He gritted his teeth and exclaimed, "He dug in and changed the direction of my attack?" Jin Se-woon smiled confidently, his eyes gleaming with cunning. He had calculated every move. The armored warrior's armor began to crack. He staggered, and a narration echoed. "Found a weakness!" Jin Se-woon's hand glowed crimson, energy swirling around his rings. He prepared to unleash the next blow. Jin Se-woon delivered an incredibly powerful hip strike, creating an explosive surge of energy. The shockwave tore through the air. The armored warrior was sent flying into the air, fresh blood splattering. He couldn't withstand the terrifying power. Jin Se-woon grabbed the armored warrior's head, holding him firmly in control. He gave his opponent no chance to resist. Jin Se-woon's knee strike slammed hard into the armored warrior's face, making him roar in pain. Blood splattered, signaling a fatal blow. Jin Se-woon sprang backward, looking down at the fallen armored warrior. Debris scattered in the air. The armored warrior lay motionless on the ground, blood staining his body. He had been completely defeated. The armored warrior's face was contorted in pain, and he gasped, "Kuwak." His last breath slowly faded. Jin Se-woon placed his foot on the armored warrior's head, declaring victory. The enemy had been completely subdued. Jin Se-woon stood coldly over the enemy's corpse, declaring that another foe had fallen beneath his feet. Green energy enveloped Jin Se-woon. He felt abundant vitality from the enemy he had just defeated, realizing that the life force in the game was stronger than his cultivated chi. Jin Se-woon's eyes were sharp, and he calculated quickly. So there are 4 more of them around here, right? He stood mid-air, crimson and green energy blazing around him, ready for the next battle. A sudden burst of crimson light tore through the air, knocking Jin Se-woon flying. Jin Se-woon dodged in time, an arrow embedding itself in the wall. Where did that come from? He decided to track down the source of the attack. The village remained peaceful, with no one in sight or any sign of an attacker. Everything was enveloped in an eerie silence. A black, rhombus-shaped object flew towards him. Jin Se-woon wondered, "Is it from the houses right next to me?" Jin Se-woon's eyes widened, rage flaring. Damn it! Another crimson light pierced through the air, hitting Jin Se-woon and slamming him into the stone wall. Fresh blood seeped out, staining one side of Jin Se-woon's face red, the wound burning painfully. With blood still on his face, Jin Se-woon looked up with resolute eyes. There's still more? Consecutive crimson lights flew towards him, forcing Jin Se-woon to move constantly, dodging each dangerous attack. A critical blow struck his leg. Jin Se-woon lost his balance, tumbling into the base of an ancient tree. Leaning against the tree, Jin Se-woon gasped for breath. Green energy began to envelop the wound on his leg. He ran while analyzing the recent attack. If they can aim accurately from that distance, is it internal energy? No, it's not that strong. The village appeared before him, but Jin Se-woon remained vigilant. Is he alone, or are there teammates pursuing me? He quickly clung to the stone wall, preparing to overcome the obstacle. Jin Se-woon sprang onto the wall, dodging an arrow. It doesn't matter anyway. I just need to find the archer. Catch one, and the other will reveal themselves. Jin Se-woon glided across the rooftops, reminiscing about the past. In previous games, I would tremble, hiding in every house. But now, enemies are just a source of life force for me to absorb. Jin Se-woon's eyes were sharp, the blood stain on his cheek intensifying his resolute appearance. An arrow flew, piercing straight through Jin Se-woon's head, blood splattering. Jin Se-woon stood frozen, the wound on his forehead having transformed into a third eye. He let out a sound of surprise. Ah! The third eye on Jin Se-woon's forehead opened, scanning the entire space. From above, Jin Se-woon observed the entire scene. Huh? What? I clearly felt like I was hit. A hooded man, dagger in hand, looked around in astonishment. He's disappeared. Jin Se-woon's foot stomped heavily on the ground, creating a crack and splattering blood. Jin Se-woon suddenly appeared behind him, delivering a powerful kick to the opponent's back. Here! The opponent was sent flying by the powerful kick, crashing into a house wall and falling unconscious. Jin Se-woon knelt, looking at the crack in the ground, dust swirling. What? I clearly felt an impact. The enemy's hand lay motionless in a pool of blood, weapon scattered. Jin Se-woon looked around in surprise. Where did he go? Jin Se-woon stood up, his face stained with blood, his eyes wide with astonishment. Impossible. The hooded figure, seemingly unconscious, reappeared high above, drawing a bow and aiming straight at Jin Se-woon. An invisibility cloak? Jin Se-woon's pupils contracted in horror. The ground cracked open, a trace of a sudden attack. A crimson arrow, enveloped in blue energy, tore through the wind. The arrow pierced through. Jin Se-woon was thrown backward, fresh blood splattering. The hooded figure landed lightly. Jin Se-woon raged. Damn it! When did he get behind me? The hooded figure landed nimbly, ready for the next attack. From the balcony, Jin Se-woon coldly observed the opponent below. The hooded figure raised his head, challenging. Do you think I'll let you escape easily? Jin Se-woon landed lightly on the edge of the rooftop, continuing his escape. He launched himself into the air, soaring over the rooftops, searching for an escape. The hooded figure relentlessly pursued him through every street. Breathing heavily, ha, ha. Suddenly, Jin Se-woon swooped down from above, attacking the hooded figure from behind. He cried out in terror. Jin Se-woon stood tall, looking down at the fallen enemy, saying contemptuously, I don't know where you got that cloak, but it was a mistake to pick a fight with me in broad daylight with it. Jin Se-woon stood upright, his eyes sharp, declaring, That thing, with just a little endurance, you could easily reach the peak. What a pity. Die quickly and hand it over to me. A white-haired, pointy-eared figure appeared, speaking coldly. Stop your mischief, stranger. Jin Se-woon was surprised when the white-haired, pointy-eared person appeared, saying, Sorry, I was chasing him, but he was faster than I thought. The hooded figure angrily retorted, No, if you're my teammate, you should protect me. The white-haired, pointy-eared person pondered, his gaze scrutinizing. First of all, I don't see his teammate anywhere. The hooded figure roared with indignation. I don't care. Just kill him first. Blood trickling from the corner of his mouth, Jin Se-woon gritted his teeth. I should have killed him quickly, and then dealt with them one by one. Is it unavoidable to have to fight two of them? Jin Se-woon gave a cold, decisive smile. No. The white-haired, pointy-eared person lunged like lightning, his curved sword slicing through the air, enveloped in a surge of blue energy. Jin Se-woon clenched his teeth, his eyes sharp, dodging the lightning-fast attack. At the same time, the hooded figure drew his bow, a fiery arrow hurtling straight towards Jin Se-woon. With terrifying speed, Jin Se-woon delivered a powerful kick, striking the white-haired, pointy-eared person directly in the chest. Jin Se-woon's kick sent the white-haired, pointy-eared person flying, his body spinning in midair. Jin Se-woon stood tall, his hands clasped, a surge of blue energy erupting around his body, ready for the real battle. Instead of confronting them, Jin Se-woon suddenly turned and fled, drawing the white-haired, pointy-eared person and the second hooded figure in close pursuit. The hooded figure gritted his teeth, his eyes resentful, growling, You cunning bastard. A warrior unleashed 3 consecutive shots, creating brilliant red streaks that tore through the air. 3 shots. Jin Si-woon was pierced by 3 brilliant red energy blasts, blood splattering as his body reeled in pain. Alex, the hooded figure, flashed a triumphant smile. You've been hit by Alex. I never fucking miss. Jin Si-woon collapsed. Alex and the white-haired, pointy-eared person stood tall, their eyes coldly fixed on their prey. Alex remained absolutely confident, looking down at the fallen Jin Si-woon. This time, I've definitely got you. A red flash streaked past. Jin Si-woon moved like a blur, leaving behind a taunt. Too arrogant. Alex was stunned, unable to believe his eyes. He stammered in shock. No, how could you? A blood-soaked hand appeared, enveloped in brilliant red energy trails, signaling a devastating counterattack. Alex collapsed, blood gushing from the wound on his abdomen, blue energy swirling around him. Jin Si-woon stood there, looking down coldly. Jin Si-woon, his hand still bloody, declared, "Just because your eyes see me somewhere doesn't mean I'm actually there." The game system announced, "Opponent has been incapacitated. Finish him before his teammate revives." The white-haired, pointy-eared person stood firm, his curved sword in hand, his eyes sharp. He assessed, "You use strange magic. You are definitely a magician." Jin Si-woon, his hand covered in blood, retorted, "Magician or whatever, I'm just a returning student. If you want to save your ally, you'll have to defeat me." The white-haired, pointy-eared person roared in anger, his eyes burning with determination. "I won't just defeat you, I'll survive until the very end." Jin Si-woon's eyes blazed, his face showing clear resilience, ready to confront the challenge. The 2 figures lunged at each other, creating a fierce collision, signaling the start of a brutal battle. The elf swordsman unleashed a powerful dual sword attack, creating a brilliant surge of energy that tore through the air. Jin Si-woon counterattacked in a flash, a surge of blue energy enveloping his arm, blocking the assault. The elf swordsman was thrown back, Jin Si-woon analyzed. The key to a counterattack is the starting point of the strike. Approach and aim straight for the shoulder. A deep slash tore through Jin Si-woon's arm, fresh blood splattering. Jin Si-woon gritted his teeth, enduring, muttering to himself, "This bastard, he's really fast." The elf swordsman glided through a purple mist, his curved sword gleaming with a deadly aura. The elf swordsman rushed forward like a whirlwind of blood. Jin Si-woon narrowly dodged. Jin Si-woon looked at the wound, thinking to himself, "A sword is completely different from a spear. I was cut too deeply. If not for my internal energy, my whole body would have been shredded." The elf swordsman was surprised to see the cut wasn't as deep as he thought. His eyes filled with confusion. The elf swordsman suspected, "You must be using illusions like before." Jin Si-woon replied, "I'm not sure, but it's fine." The elf swordsman sneered. He coldly declared, "Your neck will be the next target." The elf swordsman lunged down like a red lightning bolt, his sword tearing through the air. Jin Si-woon clutched his wound. He wondered, how can I counter that guy's moves? Jin Si-woon closed his eyes. A thought flashed through his mind. Wait, there's no penalty for failure in this round. Jin Si-woon's eyes snapped open, his gaze sharp. A bold plan had just formed in his mind. Jin Si-woon stood amidst the dark energy flow, determined to try a new tactic. If there's no risk, I should try something. Instead of following him with my eyes, I'll try to sense his energy and killing intent. He clenched his fist, his eyes burning. If I can't even overcome this, how can I aim for the #1 spot? Jin Si-woon was no longer the struggling person who absorbed internal energy from Jang Do-cheon, or someone who needed 2 months of training to use it. In fact, Jin Si-woon possessed a rare talent for using internal energy. His eyes gleamed with confidence. At this moment, Karl Gurnier unleashed his ultimate attack. A giant spinning scythe, along with 2 smaller swords, lunged forward. However, Jin Si-woon counterattacked unexpectedly, pinning Karl Gurnier to the ground. Karl Gurnier exclaimed in horror, "What the hell, you bastard? How could you block my ultimate attack so easily?" In that moment, Jin Si-woon felt he had broken through a limit. A faint smile appeared on his lips. Karl Gurnier desperately reached out, pleading, "Wait." But Jin Si-woon didn't hesitate, finishing off Karl Gurnier. A notification appeared. Jin Si-woon, Karl Gurnier, killed by force. Players remaining, 186 sur 200. A glowing treasure chest appeared. Jin Si-woon thought to himself, as expected, strong individuals usually have a lot of internal energy. It seems this guy has farmed quite a bit. Here it is. He found a recovery scroll. Of course. Let's recover a bit first, then slowly start grinding. Jin Si-woon sighed, questioning himself. Jin Si-woon, why did you get agitated and mess everything up? He looked at the damaged invisibility cloak, regretfully. If I had kept this item, protecting my rank would have been a piece of cake. Jin Si-woon decided to keep the damaged cloak. Well, I'll just keep it. Is there anything else? He found a bow. Lightning energy? I didn't feel anything from the arrows that guy shot. Jin Se-woon discovered a skill book that allowed him to shoot multiple arrows at once. He wondered in surprise about the defeated enemy. Jin Se-woon's footsteps echoed on the stone floor. The item pouch at his hip swayed with his rhythm. His eyes gleamed with determination. Well, I've learned it, so I should give it a try. Jin Se-woon drew his bow. Blue energy arrows tore through the wind, creating a destructive rain. He thoughtfully looked at the new bow, feeling its superior power. This is much better than the crossbow from before. It will definitely be very useful. Jin Se-woon walked on, realizing there was only one team left in the area. He decided to rest and grind more before continuing. Inside a house, Jin Se-woon only found trinkets. Perhaps because this is just a village house, there's nothing but junk. Are there no good items, like an invisibility cloak? Jin Se-woon looked out the window, a hint of surprise in his eyes. He turned his gaze towards the center of town, where a tall structure stood majestically. So there's something like that in the center of town, he pondered, concluding that such places were usually the best grinding spots. Usually, those places are the best grinding spots. Without hesitation, Jin Se-woon quickly rushed towards the mysterious building, determined to explore it. He stood before the closed door, thinking no one had entered yet. Looking at the closed door, it seems no one has been here yet. So, shall we begin a lavish mukbang? As a precaution, Jin Se-woon carefully closed the door tightly. I should close the door to be safe. He climbed the stairs, secretly hoping to find an invisibility cloak or a stat-boosting ring. Almost at the top. Upon arriving, Jin Se-woon looked around in disappointment, finding nothing. Is there really nothing? Absolutely nothing? Jin Se-woon punched the wall hard, blood splattering. He roared. Damn it! He turned his back to the window. Bloodstains splattered on his shirt. Sometimes things go according to plan in this game. Sometimes it just drives you crazy. Jin Se-woon's eyes widened, his expression a mix of surprise and doubt. Wait? From above, he looked down at the two players moving below. Look at them. A player in a purple cloak ran past the clock tower. They're grinding levels without a care in the world. I wonder if they have good items. If so, dealing with them alone will be difficult. Jin Se-woon gazed out thoughtfully, calculating. I wonder how I should deal with them. Jin Se-woon's eyes flashed with determination. The two players had moved closer to the building. Are they really coming here? The player in the blue cloak turned to look at the tightly shut door. Look, Kilroy, the door is closed. That definitely means no one's coming here. Looking up from below, Jin Se-woon was standing on the stairs. A healing scroll right from the start. That's a good omen. Jin Se-woon's steps were steady on the stairs. He hadn't noticed the healing scroll at the entrance because of all the junk. In the end, it turned out to be a rather useful trap. Jin Se-woon swooped down like lightning, launching a surprise attack. If they're at a level where a healing scroll excites them, then their mana and skills are nothing to boast about. A cruel smile spread across Jin Se-woon's lips. If you see the weak, you must strike first. No narrative content for this page. The player in the blue cloak suddenly flinched, looking towards the shadows. Huh? A shadow? From above, a figure plunged down like a meteor, creating a fierce surge of energy. Jin Se-woon suddenly appeared between Kilroy and the player in the purple cloak, shattering the silence. Jin Se-woon's gaze was sharp and cold, sweeping over his opponent. He thought to himself, if this guy is a decent mage. Kilroy flinched, his body erupting in a blue light like a barrier. Jin Se-woon had anticipated. He'll have a barrier. Jin Se-woon unleashed a thunderous punch, piercing through Kilroy's energy barrier. The sound of the barrier shattering echoed, a truly horrifying sight. Kilroy recoiled, his face pale with fright. He exclaimed in shock, "Where did this guy come from?" Jin Se-woon looked directly at his opponent, his eyes burning with determination. He declared, "I'll end this with the next attack." The player in the purple cloak roared in anger, unleashing a blazing fireball. Escrodan fireball. Fierce flames engulfed Jin Se-woon, the heat scorching the surrounding air. Jin Se-woon leaped high, escaping the flames. The player in the purple cloak didn't stop, continuing to swing his axe. Attack! Unexpectedly, the player in the purple cloak was burned by his own flames. He stood stunned, unable to believe his eyes. The player in the purple cloak clutched his wound, yelling, "What are you doing?" He quickly explained, "I wasn't aiming at you. There's an enemy there." The flames still clung to the player in the purple cloak, impossible to extinguish. He despaired. "Damn it! It won't go out." Kilroy looked at the player in the purple cloak with disdain. "Idiot. Is that guy alone?" He continued. "If he had teammates, wouldn't they have attacked together?" Jin Se-woon lunged like a whirlwind, knocking the axe from the player in the purple cloak's hand. He coldly declared, "In that case, you must die." Jin Se-woon's storm-like attacks rained down, finishing off both the player in the purple cloak and Kilroy, leaving two motionless figures. The player in the purple cloak swung his axe to attack, but Jin Se-woon deftly dodged. The enemy roared in frustration. "You slippery bastard!" Rage erupted, and the player in the purple cloak frantically screamed, "I'll kill you!" He continuously swung his axe, but Jin Se-woon skillfully used Kilroy as a shield. Fresh blood splattered, staining the ground red. A sudden counterattack severely wounded Kilroy. The player in the purple cloak's eyes widened in horror, unable to believe what had just happened. He cried out in pain. "Huh?" The player in the purple cloak's axe was deeply embedded in Kilroy's chest. He asked in shock, "What are you trying to do?" The player in the purple cloak hastily justified, his face panicked. "No, I didn't mean to. That guy just dodged my attack and—" Kilroy, with the axe embedded in his chest, weakly said, "All right, I understand. Just pull this axe out of me." Jin Se-woon unleashed a shattering blow with brilliant blue energy, striking Kilroy directly and making him collapse. Jin Se-woon coldly declared, "I'll deliver the finishing blow." His eyes were sharp and full of resolve. Kilroy lay there, covered in blood, only managing to utter in despair, "Oh, damn it." Jin Se-woon delivered a fatal blow, tearing Kilroy's upper body apart. He declared, "Shattered chest." Even after falling, Kilroy still had a bit of consciousness, gasping, "How dare you mess with me?" Jin Se-woon looked at the unarmored Kilroy, pondering, is he the type who gets slowed down by armor? He looks like a strength-focused character. Would he be a bit faster without it? Jin Se-woon delivered a powerful blow to the ground, creating a violent tremor. With a vertical kick, Jin Se-woon sent Kilroy flying high, completely ending the enemy's life. Jin Se-woon dealt a fatal blow, causing the purple-cloaked player to collapse. Blood splatter. The purple-cloaked player growled, "If you've fallen from the sky, you have to hit the ground again, right?" Jin Se-woon's eyes flashed with a cold, murderous glint. The purple-cloaked player counterattacked fiercely, a surge of crimson energy pushing Jin Se-woon back. His berserk strength shook the distant clock tower. Jin Se-woon was pushed back, secretly acknowledging, "He's truly incredibly strong." The terrifying force pushed Jin Se-woon back, his feet scraping across the ground. Jin Se-woon challenged, "But can you catch me with just that brute force? Strength isn't everything." The purple-cloaked player roared furiously, "Let's see if your mouth is still running when you're dead." He swung his axe, a blade of crimson energy tearing through the air towards Jin Se-woon. Jin Se-woon unleashed a piercing strike into the ground, simultaneously taunting, "Even an earthworm will squirm if stepped on." The purple-cloaked player was shaken, staggering. Jin Se-woon seized the opportunity, quickly retreating out of attack range. Jin Se-woon calmly looked back at the enemy struggling with his clone. "Have fun fighting my clone, you fool." With light steps, Jin Se-woon turned and walked away, leaving the enemy in a furious rage. The purple-cloaked player was stunned, realizing he'd been tricked. "What? You? When did you get there?" Amidst the rubble, Jin Se-woon calmly declared, "Did you hear that sound? You just tore the building in half." He continued to provoke, a powerful kick tearing through the air, imbued with terrifying strength. With a fatal blow, Jin Se-woon shattered the ruined wall, demonstrating overwhelming power. The purple-cloaked player was stunned, realizing he'd been tricked. "No? Wait, so who was I fighting just now?" In a moment of horror, the purple-cloaked player turned his head, seeing the real Jin Se-woon charging towards him. In extreme panic, he screamed in despair, "Save me!" Jin Se-woon stood amidst the crimson energy, the dark shadows dissipating, a sign of a brutal end. Jin Se-woon turned and walked away, preoccupied with a thought. But if this happens, who will get the kill points? He sighed, a displeased expression on his face. I did it for fun, but if I don't get the kill points, the reward will decrease. Jin Se-woon, you bastard! The smoke and dust gradually cleared, and the small dark shadows finally vanished completely. Amidst the rubble, a severed arm lay isolated, testament to the brutality of the battle. Jin Se-woon discovered 2 glowing chests. Oh, tilde. So if there's no space for the chest to appear, it can appear far from the corpse. I almost wasted a whole day digging through the rubble. He put on the new gloves, satisfied. Now it's time to harvest. Power gloves slightly increased the wearer's strength. This is all I could salvage from that big guy. Jin Se-woon squatted by the chest, exclaiming in surprise, "Oh, this mage is a real gold goblin, isn't he? There are some items I've never seen before." He inventoried the spoils, an explosive scroll, a cursed brooch, a philosopher's stone, and a mysterious fragment of a guidebook. Jin Se-woon stood amidst the ruins, realizing he had caused too much commotion. He muttered, "I've caused too much trouble here. I should probably leave." A mage's cloak, offering no defense but blocking wind and rain, appeared in his sight. The restricted zone was gradually shrinking. Jin Se-woon mused, observing, "Since I started in the initial area, there must be quite a few players on the other side by now." He calculated his next move. Jin Seowun's gloved hand glided over the map, the destination being the center. He wondered, should I head straight to the center of the map first? A strategic decision was forming. Jin Seowun left the ruined houses, smoke still lingering. He had searched but found nothing valuable, so he decided to leave quickly before it was too late. He dashed like an arrow through the hills and trees. Despite the long distance, his perfected movement skills allowed him to achieve superior speed compared to his first playthrough. His steps halted on the dirt road. A system notification appeared, warning him that he had entered a monster zone. This map contained various types of monsters. The dark red ground beneath Jin Seowun's feet. He realized, it seems there aren't just werewolves, but all sorts of monsters appearing. He wished he had this information from the previous playthrough. A giant dark shadow suddenly appeared overhead, engulfing him in a brilliant red light. Jin Seowun looked up in horror. What? Is that a monster? The giant monster, with its widespread wings, opened its mouth full of sharp fangs. Its roar echoed, dyeing the entire space red. Jin Seowun stood in the middle of the battlefield, facing the winged monster. Beside him, Escrow, the hooded man, was fighting two giant snake monsters. Escrow raised his glowing staff, determined. I'll hold them off. Let's fight as defensively as possible. Jin Seowun replied, Understood. I'll rely on your support. Escrow cast a spell, green light surrounding him as he dealt with the snakes. The winged monsters still circled high above. Jin Seowun thought to himself, a warrior and a mage combined? This is a synergy I've never seen. Jin Seowun hid himself on a rock outcrop, drawing his bowstring taut. His eyes were sharp, ready for a surprise attack. With green light surrounding his arm, Jin Seowun aimed directly at his target. He asked himself, should I start by taking down one of them first? The emerald green energy arrow tore through the air, carrying destructive power, heading straight for the pack of monsters. The battle officially began. Giant snake monsters roared, their bloodshot eyes gleaming with bloodlust in the crimson night. Their roars tore through space. Blood splattered. A lightning-fast attack ripped through the air, leaving a brilliant streak of light and shredded flesh. Jin Seowun unleashed Kixing Jianfa, charging into the swarm of snakes, his brilliant sword strikes tearing through the darkness in a fierce counterattack. Grand Mage Escrow was no less formidable, brandishing his staff and chanting Shang Bing to create sharp ice lances that shot towards the enemy. Jin Seowun smiled confidently, a snake already fallen at his feet. There are many of them, but I'll round them all up and get a huge reward. Let's go. Escrow panted, watching Jin Seowun fight. Qixing Jianfa! Are you the only one who gets to take it easy? How much mana do I have to use just to catch one? A surprise attack stunned Escrow, shards of ice shattering around him as he cried out in pain. An energy arrow pierced the air, crashing violently into Escrow's barrier. An arrow? It's a surprise attack. Someone is targeting it. Jin Seowun's face grew serious as he looked at Escrow. The reward isn't important right now. It's an enemy. There's not much time left. Escrow was in utter panic, his face clearly showing fear. We're about to die. What more is there to say? We have to run now. Jin Seowun held his bow, a brilliant blue arrow glowing, his eyes sparkling. Huh? A rebellion? Or should I provoke them a little more? Jin Seowun's arrow tore through the wind, its dazzling blue light leaving a brilliant energy trail in space. Escrow was utterly terrified, his face pale, the cross-shaped seal on his forehead glowing crimson. Again, they're coming again. Escrow was surrounded by countless icy attacks, his magic barrier shattered, and he let out a desperate cry. Jin Seowun rushed past Escrow, urging him. Hurry, put the barrier back up. I know, you don't need to tell me. Escrow, the barrier. Escrow desperately watched the flickering barrier, purple energy surrounding him. With such destructive power, the barrier will break again. We have to run now. Jin Seowun growled, unwilling to flee. If we run now, we'll lose all the rewards from these monsters. The loss is too great. Let's finish them off quickly and then retreat. Jin Seowun was annoyed, his eyes flashing purple. Aish, I told you the barrier wouldn't work. So, huh? Escrow gathered his strength, purple energy erupting to form a solid defensive wall. But immediately, a terrifying attack struck, making Escrow recoil in horror. The ground cracked open, a deep chasm appeared, and smoke billowed upward. A giant stone wall suddenly rose. Jin Seowun mused. They built a wall. Was it a mage? In this case, it's even better. Sharp ice arrows continuously embedded themselves into the wall, but it remained firmly standing. Escrow sighed in relief. Blocking like this is better than wasting mana on a barrier. Jin Seowun frowned. How will we know where the enemy is like this? Escrow replied, but they can't climb over and get in either. A gray-green wolf monster lunged to attack Jin Seowun. He thought to himself, are they trying to reveal our position? Then decided, Aish, I guess I'll just wait for this wall to disappear. Jin Seowon delivered a fatal blow to the monster, blood splattering. He warned Escrow, "If you do anything stupid again, I'll abandon you, whether you're a teammate or not." Jin Seowon pointed, his eyes sharp. "Look!" Escrow froze, speechless. A blue energy stream tore through the wind, piercing the wall and hitting Escrow. He staggered, admitting, "You're right." Jin Seowon asked Escrow, his voice strained, "Can't this wall be destroyed immediately?" Escrow sighed. It'll take about 5 minutes." Jin Seowon didn't hesitate, pulling out a purple magic scroll. He activated the scroll, and blue energy flared. A notification appeared. Magic Bomb Scroll. A scroll that will explode 10 seconds after use. Jin Seowon's finger touched the screen, preparing to confirm the use of the magic bomb. The countdown for the magic bomb began, electrical energy crackling around Jin Seowon. Jin Seowon swung his staff, unleashing a fierce stream of blue energy. The scroll's energy shot straight down, targeting Escrow, who stood below. As time passed, the stream of magic energy drew closer and closer to its target. The fated moment was near, the magic bomb about to explode. The final number appeared, and destructive energy surged directly into Escrow. The terrifying power of the explosion pushed Jin Seowon back, surprising him. A violent explosion erupted, destroying everything and flinging Jin Seowon far away. Jin Seowon was astonished to realize the scroll's power far exceeded expectations. He exclaimed, "The scroll's power is stronger than I thought." Amidst the rubble, Jin Seowon was annoyed by the piercing sound. He muttered, It's too noisy." The smoke and dust gradually cleared, revealing a desolate scene after the explosion. Amidst the rubble, Escrow lay motionless, his body ravaged. Suddenly, one of Escrow's arms twitched slightly, letting out a pained groan. Jin Seowon struggled to his feet, furious at almost dying for nothing. He grumbled, That idiot. I almost died for nothing." Jin Seowon's eyes flashed with a purple light, realizing something was amiss. He exclaimed in surprise, "Oh no!" Jin Seowon quickly drew his bow, aiming it directly at Escrow lying there. He called out, "Hello?" Jin Seowon squeezed his eyes shut as a blue light pierced the forehead, splattering blood. Jin Seowon knelt down, looking at the glowing chest amidst the rubble. He muttered, "Huh?" A box appeared instantly. It seems that Wizard was caught in the explosion and died immediately. Jin Seowon held the book. The system displayed 7-star Mental Cultivation Manual, a complete set of sword techniques, movement, and footwork. The system asked if he wanted to replace his skills, but Jin Seowon dismissed it. He said irritably, "No, Tesk, all these martial arts are useless to me." But he wasn't empty-handed. The Toka ring significantly increased magic resistance. Jin Seowon wondered, is this why he could withstand the explosion alone? Amidst the desolation, Jin Seowon stood up, the chest now empty. Amidst the rubble, Jin Seowon found another chest. He exclaimed in surprise, "Oh, this is..." Jin Seowon gripped the pure gold necklace, grinning slyly. "Haha, I finally got it. Jackpot." He picked up another ice magic spellbook but sighed. "This magic is too high level. I can't learn it." From a distance, Jin Seowon saw a black mass writhing on the ground. It was Escrow, still alive. A moment later, Jin Seowon turned and walked away, leaving Escrow transforming into a monster. He wondered, did they have to struggle with guys like this? Jin Seowon was surprised, his gaze stopping on something. He wondered, What's this? Jin Seowon knelt down, looking at the glowing money bags. He speculated, is this the reward for hunting monsters? He held the small bag and the necklace. The system displayed Lamia's Tears, crafting material. Tyrone necklace, slightly increases user's ability. Jin Seowon walked on, assessing the spoils. He muttered, the necklace isn't bad, but what am I supposed to do with these tears? The desolate landscape stretched out, the sky red with smoke and dust, with only a few structures standing firm in the distance. Jin Seowon pondered the power of the boss monsters, realizing the importance of defeating them as quickly as possible to change the tide of battle. He questioned his own abilities before the great challenge. Would he be strong enough to hunt boss monsters? And would anyone else realize it too, ready to compete for the prey? The second day of the harsh survival battle had begun. After just one day, 60 people had been eliminated. With 8 kills, Jin Seowon considered himself to be doing all right. Jin Seowon decided to head towards the center of the map, where the first signal appeared. The climate changed abruptly. The scorching desert made Jin Seowon wonder, why is it so hot here? He wondered if he should move at night to avoid the heat. A giant shadow glided overhead, making him startle and look up. A brilliant phoenix carried a supply chest, astonishing Jin Seowon. The bird soared away, the chest falling freely. Jin Seowon rushed forward without hesitation. The supply chest landed on the dry ground. He touched the chest, receiving a notification. You have received Cloyd's treasure box, but in return, His location would be revealed. A difficult choice appeared. Do you want to accept it? He decided to take the gamble, because he had nothing to lose anyway. A burst of blue light erupted, engulfing Jin Si-woon, surprising him immensely.